Today's episode of PTG is brought to you by the one and only Trans Labs that brought the world two amazing products. First off, Transfuse, which is a hydration multiplier, and most recently, they just dropped Transcend, which is a nootropic energy formula. No matter what you use, when you choose Trans Labs, you are going to be boosted and you are going to be ready to charge the paintball field and win out there. With Transfuse, that is a premium rapid hydration multiplier and immunity fortifying formula scientifically designed to replenish you at the cellular level. And they use all natural ingredients in this product. We've got zinc, we've got vitamin B6, we've got vitamin C, sodium, potassium, choline, and it is an amazing way to make sure that you're hydrated and prepared to play top-level paintball. When it comes to Transcend, that is a premium nootropic energy formula designed to increase cognitive performance, elevate mood and clarity while supporting long-term brain health, and it's going to leave you feeling great with no crash or jitters. It's one of the only products in the nootropic space backed by research studies to ensure the formula is correct for optimal performance. It is more potent than anything on the market, and it will keep you charged and ready to win out there. I take 1 scoop, but if you're stimulant sensitive, take a half scoop, and if you want that LFG dose to launch to the moon, dump 2 scoops in your drink and you are going to be flying down that paintball field. Comes in 2 delicious flavors, Baja Blast and Skittles Candy for the Transcend. And for the Transfuse, they have 2 new flavors as well, Pineapple Express and Hawaiian Punched. So if you get a chance, head over to translabs.com. That's TRANZLABS.com. Use code PLAYTHEGAME and you'll get 10% off. If you subscribe to a monthly delivery service, you also get 10% off as well. So you could take advantage of 20% off on these products. Head over to translabs.com and give it a go. This episode is brought to you by Lone Wolf Paintball. They are an amazing online supplier and have been around since the beginning of the game as Michigan's premier paintball field and paintball supplier since 1987. They are rapidly expanding into the online retail space and supplying everything you need to be the best paintball player you can be. They have got it all. Head over to lonewolfpaintball.com and shop all of your favorite brands. And they also boast amazing customer service and will have this out to you with same-day shipping, which is amazing. It's always nice to know that your stuff is on its way immediately so you can start to use it that very next weekend of play. Check out their YouTube, Lone Wolf Paintball, and their Instagram, @LoneWolfPB, and stay up to date with all of their deals and sales. Play the Game podcast is immensely honored to have them on board, and we cannot wait for you guys to check out lonewolfpaintball.com and become a part of their community. This episode of Play the Game podcast is brought to you by HK Army, and PTG listeners, do I have a treat for you. If you are playing NXL Chicago, HK Army is offering a special paint promo to PTG listeners only. HK has made constant improvements to their paintball formula, which is leading to more consistent results come tournament time. Myself and the entire Houston Heat squad have been feasting with HK Army paint at the events, and I can't wait to see you all out there in Chicago shooting it soon. You will even be able to test the event paint yourself at NXL Chicago once you arrive at the venue. Be sure to email teams@hkarmy.com. That is TEAMS at HKARMY.com. This episode is brought to you by HK Army Paint. The tournament season to find out how your team can get the hookup on paintballs for NXL Chicago. Don't wait, do it right now. Email teams look no further at HKArmy.com.
That was an insane inside move by Marcelo Margot. Great communication.
And the crowd starts chanting Harmon.
Great shot by all the guys. Tyler Harmon saved that game.
Came out with 2 wins. Marcelo Margot was on fire.
What's going on, PTG Nation? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. This episode is an absolute banger, almost 3 hours of amazing content. We have Mike Hinman on the show to talk about WCPPL, USXBL, and the final 2 events for Diesel, what we can expect, what they are looking for, and how they have made so much progress from the start of the season. This is an episode you absolutely don't want to miss. We finish it off with Todd Boyer of the KC Missouri All-Stars. They came out and competed in the WCPPL and have all of their stories to share. So without further ado, we will see you in the show.
PTG Nation, we're back at it again. We got the one and only, the legendary, one of the best coaches of all time, one of the greatest players of all time, in my opinion, an anchor on and off the field, owner of WCPPL, USXBL, and the coach of AC Diesel. We got Mike Hinman in the house. What's going on, Big Mike?
How you doing, boys? Glad to be back.
Yes,
Hell
sir.
yeah.
Dude, thank you for joining us. Yeah, it's always a pleasure. We know we're going to get into some riffraff now.
Always blessed to be on the show with you guys.
Yes, sir, man. Right back at you. And, man, thank you for everything you're doing in the scene. You just got done with the WCPPL out there in Cali this last weekend, and it was going off out there. There was a lot of good paintball being played.
Yeah, that was this weekend. And 2 weeks before that, I was out at USXBL at X Factor running our event out there. That was another banger, a bazillion degrees. Sand death, I believe, is what they refer to San Antonio as in the summer. But
I saw you spraying the bunker, and they were like, even the bunkers need hydration. You know what I mean?
It was easy to clean the paint off because this stuff was just dripping off of it, like little water. It was real. I've seen a lot of good paintball in the last 3 weeks. A lot of grinders, a lot of young kids coming up through the ranks.
Yeah, man. Yeah, let's talk about the USXBL, actually. How did the event go? And it was out at X Factor Paintball, so they have a great facility. And shout out to everything that they're doing.
Right? Like, we brought in a lot of our WC infrastructure, bunkers, scoreboards, stuff like that to do it. The USXBL is small right now, right? Like, I think when you look at WC and you compare it to, USXBL, that's not a comparison. Like, we're not the largest league in Texas. We're the third largest league in Texas. But, I think the league over the last couple of years has taken some hits. Rab just hasn't been there as much, right? He's got Park West Arms up in South Dakota that he's really focused on. And, it's hard to be an owner of any business, just like your guys' business, if you're not hands-on and really feeling the pulse of what's happening. So I think over the last couple of years, it's kind of taken a downward turn. Other promoters have come in with a lot more heart and vigor, you know what I mean? And definitely taking a back seat. So we got to rebuild it to what it was. We're not worried about it, So, but it was a great event. The teams down there are hungry. The pocket paintball that these teams D4, D5 are playing is interesting to see, because that gap between where we all know paintball to be and where they're at isn't that far apart, right? Like, you see these kids, same with guys like just one Oliver's Hormesis one-on-one at Fit. Like, those are players that play USXBL or play XTPL or whatever league it is out there that are winning against semi-pro players, right? So I think we know one thing is that gap is continuing to narrow in paintball. I think that probably goes back a couple of years when we got rid of coaching, right, on the sideline, where players had to actually learn how to be intelligent. Because when you had me in your ear going up, down, left, right, here he is, the best you were going to get on a bunker move was a trade, right? A body for a body. But now with nobody telling you, here he comes, you guys, Tyler, Marcel, you both, there's highlight reels of you guys getting 2 and 3 pieces a lot, because there's nobody yelling, here he comes. So I think these young players have really stepped their game up. And I also think there's a lot of people around learning, you know what I mean? Like, these kids are just really sucking up what the pros are doing, X Factor, being there around the X Factor is cool. Colt was reffing one day, coached a team the next day, because the divisions play on different days. But like, watching these kids be really interactive with him, it was cool. A lot of that knowledge, the 10,000, 20,000 hours we've all put in, being transferred down, and these kids are able to absorb it. Same with, Marcelo, you coaching, Tyler, you coach, go to WC, right? It's like a tree of all the SDA guys that are still around, literally coaching teams against each other. So
it's bad.
That is cool. It definitely feels that way, walking around, seeing Rainey, Mouse, Kyle's usually out there. Ty, we need to get you with a solid squad out there, dude. 100%. You've been out there before. Yeah.
God,
we got to get you locked in, though. We got to get you locked in next year.
Like, every weekend's a clinic. I'm in some city somewhere, playing paintball or teaching it. So I definitely want to get locked in and be at more WCs.
But still teaching people paintball, that's what matters, right? Like,
that's
what we need in the sport. We need pros to put back in, right? Like, it can't just be pros doing their own pro thing in an isolated environment. Just like when we were all young, back in the 7-man days, you got a pro 7-man team walking off and a D4 team walking right back on. That shoulder-to-shoulder contact when we were all kids, just being around observing and absorbing was a big thing. So
it truly means the most, you know, like especially for the new generation that's coming up. And I got to say, we had a great time at Boston Paintball. We had like 25 or 26 youngsters between the age of 16 and like 12 that were running out, which was like half of our whole camp. So there is a really big resurgence of young paintball players, which is what we need to keep this thing in the right direction. And then, like you said, Mike, we got to take it upon ourselves as pro players to put the best light on it, teach the right fundamental aspects of the game so that they learn it early, and then can be out there stomping people like, you know, like you, Mike. You were
like all of us. You know, what's crazy is what is pro paintball, right? For us, it's playing paintball at the highest level. It's like tossing a football, right? We go throw a ball. Tyler, you're 6'5" or whatever tall, and I throw a ball 7.5 feet. You jump up and grab one. Like we feel like we're Randy Moss, but we're not. Because true NFL players, guys that are receivers running routes, the ball's already left the quarterback's hand before they even broke, and that window is so quick. But that's pro paintball, right? Like those windows that we all have are just so small, and that's why we play the game. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Hinge, something that we were actually talking about this yesterday on the show, but I think it's so interesting with paintball and a lot of divisional players, they don't realize the gap, especially amongst like between pros and even semi-pro. That's why, you know, PB Fit, they've won 3 events in a row, but not too long ago, that same group got relegated from the pro division. So it's such a big gap. You can look at a high school football player, compare them, a high school wide receiver, compare him to an NFL wide receiver, and you can just visibly see the difference. You say, okay, that's an NFL player. You can see it. In paintball, you can't really see that unless they're playing against each other, right? But, you know, if you have 2 D3 players playing against one another, gunfighting, as long as they're fundamentally sound, right? And then you take 2 pro players and they're gunfighting, it doesn't look that different. Looks a little different, right? But it doesn't look that different like it does in other sports until you get on the other side of that gun and you realize the timing, the rhythm, everything is just so different. That's a unique thing, I think, about the sport.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, the pro guys, you know, all of you guys at the top, if you weren't on Dynasty or you weren't on Heat, not that that would ever happen, but would another team call? And on both of you, probably 19 other teams in the league would call, right? So therefore, you deserve to be a pro player because if I didn't want you on my team, somebody else does. And every once in a while, my point of that is some guys get into the pro division because of a buddy deal, right? I know this guy. I have a lot of belief in this guy. That doesn't really pan out. But any division you're in back home, Division 3, 4, 5, semi-pro, whatever, if the team you're on doesn't want you, would another team want you, you've probably earned your stripes to be in that division, you know? And that's how I judge talent. You know, new kids move up all the time in and out of the division, like the fit guys you're talking about. It's an interesting one with them, right? They kind of got given that spot. AC completely blew to pieces that season. There was nothing left of a core. So, you know, the fit kids, because of the relationship out there, GI, Pauly, they got into that spot. And I mean, I know all those guys pretty well. They're all really good human beings, right? But they didn't earn that spot. And I think it's the dream, right? A lot of people have the dream. They want to be a pro team. And those guys got the chance to do it. And it was just difficult that year for them, right? Sure. Like they played us multiple times and lost by a point. If they had won 1 or 2 more points, it's a different look by the end of the year. But long and the short of it, now that they've been there, they've tasted the fruit, they got kicked out, and now they're having to earn their way back up. I think it means a lot more to them, right? Because it's the dream. You have, you know, when you're semi-pro, you want to be pro, and it's right there. But once you've been pro, you've had that prestige. But now you're not cool enough and you're out. Can you work your way back? And that's a tough one. Most teams, like this year, I think the Saints will get relegated, and I'd be surprised to see a team after that. No knock at the players. It's just,
of course.
It's a crushing blow to get kicked out, right? It's an ego reality check that comes into play. But the big guys are doing good, and Blast Camp still isn't far from it. That's a tough one. Is 3 wins, but then again,
World Cup, double points.
So just saying, from a mathematical standpoint, if Blast Camp can win the next one and go into Cup and win, Fit can take second. That pretty much puts each team at 3 wins. And then, you know, does anybody get a place off or a 3rd place or a 4th place? Because that would shoot them right out of the whole thing. So that'll be an interesting fight to watch as they progress up.
For sure. And
it's been
Mike,
fun to watch.
WC, the final event is double points too. You do the same thing, right?
Yeah, it's You know, and it's tough because why would one event be worth double points? Well, why is one game at the Super Bowl worth more than a regular season game? Still a 60-minute game, but still a same game. But why is one worth the Lombardi and one's just a regular season game?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the way that they've done it to make that event worth more points. You know, there's more of a story to it. People that are in third, fourth, fifth place feel like they have a chance to catch up to it. Mathematically, it really never. Well, I mean, FSU kind of did, right? They were sneaking, hiding in third place, and nobody. Yeah. The odds are it was going to be Blast Camper fit, and the stars aligned, and Mark and his guys really stepped up to do it. But yeah, we do the double points. It makes sense for us, you know. The teams that get knocked out from first place to second because of something never like it, but it into it.
My New York team was on the losing end of that bargain there, and I gotta say, I've said this from day one with Tom. I feel like it should be 1.2 or maybe 1.5 points. I thought the double, just because what it did was because, I understand the Super Bowl argument, but at the same time, we have separate tournaments where there's an actual winner. You know, in the regular season, there's no crowned winner in football. We have tournaments that are crowned a winner. I love making World Cup worth more points because at the end of the day, if you win the series and don't win World Cup, everyone knows, like, it doesn't really count. No one really cares. You know, it's like, well, you didn't win World Cup. You know, it's not as important. So I understand that argument as well, but I was bummed. I was like, damn, that's a little bit of an anomaly. The Wrecking Crew guys won 3 out of the 4 events. They won the first 3 events and got like 6th at World Cup, and they didn't win the series because of it. And I was like, you know, I wasn't really sympathetic with them. You know, I said, well, you lost World Cup. It's the biggest one, so it doesn't really matter. But still, I was like, man, imagine being a semi-pro team in that situation where you win, like being fit. Imagine being fit. Imagine they, you know, win the first 3
year. We won our spot again. We had won. I think we beat them one more time throughout the year than they beat us, but they won World Cup. We got third at Cup, and we won it by like 0.6 of a point that year.
But it wasn't worth double points back then, right? It was just normal.
Oh, it was.
It was?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
I thought that was something new Tom introduced like 2 years ago.
Do not believe so.
Huh. Oh,
they've been using the double points for a while. Like, I know the pro division's a little different because you guys, we have 200 points per win, and they, like WC, we have 100 points total per event.
Right.
So that makes it a little bit different, but we've been using the doubles for a while. I mean, I know at WC we've used it because I know the 406 finest guys multiple years, or 1 or 2 years, Chris and his guys were in the hunt and lost at the end, and it cost them the championship. They ended up coming back and winning their premier championship, so their name's on it for the rest of the time, but it was tough. It's always tough. You draw that line, there's going to be on one somebody on one side or the other, and it's tough.
Of course. And then there's also like certain tournaments, places get more points based on how many teams.
So this year,
is that right?
With the APPA, there's an option. So I think the APPA gets kind of a bad rap. Like, people talk about, you know, APPA ranks people out or this or that.
Yeah.
Any league promoter can go to Chris at APPA and do their own set of, like, our premier division, right? 48, as many 4,800 and unders as possible, and 8,000 and under. We basically don't want you two there as players. We want the guys that need the more reps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Chris is just like, you know, again, this is how you want it. Yes, because I think his system has parameters where he can set where you can't register Tyler on the team. Right? Connor Kelly can play because he still hasn't gotten enough points. But once you start getting, you know, wins like you guys have gotten, I don't think Tom Brady needs the reps anymore. The second and third string quarterback needs the reps. But you can tell Chris how you want it. And this year he changed the points where, like, your top 8 places in WC are set points. Like your team, the Misfits, if they've gotten first, or third, it's the same points every time for the teams in the top 8. Now, if you get 11th or 12th, and there's more or less teams, because what it was, say there's 10 teams and it's 100 points. First place is 100, second is 90, 80. And if there was 20 teams, then it would be 100, 95, 90, 85, all the way down to 0.
Got it. Okay.
But now it's actually set, because it kind of becomes tough if you win the 4th event of the year, or 3rd event, whatever the one is before your championship in NXL or WC or whatever other league, USXBL or wherever you're from, MVPS. Usually there's less teams before your championship because guys not in the hunt. Like, we're just going to take this one off and get ready for World Cup. So the points, one event becomes worth more or less than other when it's just a regular season game, like you said.
Yeah, I like the way you do it then. Yeah, I think that's the most fair way. Because you still showed up. There's still formidable teams, and the teams that are in the hunt are probably there. And like you said, it's usually the teams that aren't in the hunt. They're we won't play that
at
one.
Your team right now, you guys are in second place by like 2 or 3 points, right?
Right.
And it's really just one. That first event your guys didn't do as good, and it's just one place off. But if at the next event they place one spot higher than the TJ guys, you'll win the spot.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I think it'll come down to that final, especially being double points. It'll come down to whoever does better there.
Yeah,
obviously gotta make Saturday. I'm still not used to saying that. It's make Sunday, but Saturday. Saturday is the final day at WC for the big dogs. Yeah, got to make that first, and then hopefully go for the win. Because I tell the guys too, I'm like, look, if we win the series and don't win the final WC, like that kind of sucks, So job's not even close to done.
For Sean, I'm pretty sure he'd be happy to get the trophy either way, but I'm pretty sure he's planning on winning both trophies.
Yeah, 100%.
Rings and everything else.
Oh yeah, he's a competitor, man. It's been amazing to be able to work with him and what he's provided that organization, and kind of just given me the runway to curate the team how we would, right? And it's been really awesome. It's been a really fun time.
Yeah, no, it's we all know Sean on a personal level, right? And he's a lifelong friend and would be sitting right here with us.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool to see guys, especially step out of the sport, come back into the sport. Because nobody really quits, right? We just take long breaks. And even everybody back home that hasn't picked up a gun in 5 years,
come on.
I think it'd be hard to tell me those fingers aren't moving, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't care who you are, even myself. I'm driving down the road thinking of watching that ball arc into somebody.
Dude, and don't get it twisted. People don't even know, really. I don't know if they know out there how good you were at paintball, Mike. You were tremendous on the field, an absolute monster.
I just didn't want to lose at paintball. You
were a monster.
Nah, Mike, you were a shooter. I don't remember what team we were on, Mike. Maybe your memory will maybe you'll remember this. It was either Aftermath or Ironman, obviously, but it was when you were coaching. You're in your shorts, you're in your shirt, probably had your straw bucket hat on, and we couldn't shoot a certain side off the break. It was maybe we're a half day in. You kind of freak out. What the hell are we doing? You come over, you told one of the kids, go over there, run to this spot that we couldn't shoot. And the very first rep, you pull up in your short sleeve shirt, shoot the shot, kid runs, raises his hand, he's dead. You're like, it's not that hard. Like, what are you guys doing? I was like, damn. He hasn't picked up a gun in a while, and he just came back and showed us, like, all right, there's a kill off the break. That's G1 right there, baby. G1.
Yeah, because, man, in that moment, like, we all know in paintball, like, we can say that we're nice guys off the field or feel like we're, like, really nice, pleasant, passive human beings on the field. But when that 90 degrees of difference comes in, when you stop looking at the field side to side and you see out the end zone and you're in that start station, right? And that countdown, it's like Space Mountain, right? Like the countdown is coming. And the anxiety rises. You're going up the hill on Splash Mountain. For me, like that moment, right? Like all of us, there's something like a different human being comes out.
Yeah.
For all of us, right? Like
straight up.
And again, like a lot of those guys on the other side of the field could stay in my house, live with me if they needed to. My door is always open. But when we're on the field,
don't matter.
It just it's head busting time.
Still, it was just impressive to still have the fundamentals. You hadn't played in years, and you just still got the kill. And that's why you were a starter on Dynasty in some events. That was what you did. You shot people off the break. You stayed alive, and you communicated. You did your job.
My job was to ask Ryan left or right.
Where do you want the kill from? Where do you want the kill?
We got shoot right. All right, cool. But it was a good time. I mean, that's the great part of paintball, right? Everybody's got their stories, and it's unlike anything else.
It really is, man. And that's why so many people are really excited that you own the USXBL. The people in Texas are juiced that you have taken that over. And actually, I got to throw it out to the Discord right now. We got Lord Boogerbeard in the Discord, and he's no, this is this is our boy Lord Boogerbeard. He's an OG goat in the house here. Mike, I hear only good things about the WCPPL. As a player from Texas that has played in the USXBL since it started, what big changes do you plan on doing to make the USBL great again? Over the years, the USBL has been nothing but amazing to play. This year's fields were cut down to 1, and the paint quality was so-so. And he was just wondering, how the future of the USXBL is going to be looking since you've taken over ownership.
Well, I mean, I think the first thing for any league, I would say, is referees, right? Like, we just got done with WC. We employ 30, 40 referees, whatever the number, scorekeepers. And it's tough, I could not imagine walking a mile in Tom Cole's shoes, right? Like World Cup, you've got 15, I don't know, a bazillion fields out there, of which you need 8 to 10 refs or whatever the number is. And it's tough, like I'll be the first to admit, and any league promoter that doesn't admit it is just full of shit, right? Like bad calls come down, and like they're flat out bad calls. And for us, whether it's USXBL, WCBL, it's constantly working to find better referees. And I think the regional model that every regional promoter, whether it's myself or MVPS or Bunkerfest or USXBL or all of the big names that we hear out there, the issue we all run into is how do you afford, because, it's not like Dallas, Texas or Southern California or Phoenix or wherever you live has like 30 great referees. First of all, most refs make like 200, maybe a little bit more, but hotel, it is not worth $200 to get shot that many times. And no other sport than paintball has referees stand on their feet as long as we do in our sport.
All day.
NFL's 60 minutes of game time total. That's it. Little League, even an hour and a half, but those guys have breaks in between. It's difficult for our refs. Yeah. But for us, USXBL, there's been talk in the past before I was there of bias, right? I think every region runs into that, like Tyler's from Bob Long's Ironman or Marcelo's from SDA, and we're friends with these teams. Now we're reffing these teams, and there's a perception of it, right? And that's just something we have to deal with in paintball. So USXBL, when I went out there on Memorial Day to look at the product that I was about to buy, and I watched Howe and a lot of the NXL Pro Field guys that we deal with up there reffing that tournament, I've got to be honest and say, from the outside looking in, I thought it was one of the cleanest even including my West Coast Paintball Players League. Like, it was very good reffing. So there's the first thing I think every regional league has to do is focus on quality of reffing. Like if totally I was agree, Mike, tell somebody, this is Tyler and Marcelo, you're going to build your own league. This is how you do it. You don't need more than you two guys in management. Like, you don't need a top heavy organization that's paying more money to guys out of the nets than guys and girls in the nets. You know what I mean? Another one we have to realize in paintball is the culture is always shifting, right? Some better, some worse, but like watching this weekend, and Marcelo, you were out there. I mean, some of the guys cheating has just gotten really bad.
It's gotten really bad, Mike. Yeah.
Like, I watch it happen. I watch one guy, he goes up to the X, takes 1 or 2 on the hopper. You see him spray off. He shoots his gun around. The ref throws a penalty on him. And after the game, he's giving me the earful about that's not a penalty. And it's like, brother, if you hit the guy, we can't wipe you off anymore. Marcelo does me clean in the back. I do a full 180 and smoke him. They can't wipe Marcelo off. They have to call a major because I've eliminated him and another body, right? It's 2 more bodies for me. That's the only way you can do it. You know what I mean? So the issue you run into is the culture has shifted. It's really gotten dirty. Refs are doing like 10 to 12 referees out there. And I got people still messaging me today talking about bad calls. And it's like, so I think, for leagues, as many good referees as they can afford to fly in. And I don't think, for myself, when my staff, Tracy and them, come to me and say, hey, we can bring this person or we can get this guy, I'm always like, we'll fly him in. I'll pay money out of my pocket. But it's difficult for a lot of leagues, right? They can't lose money. And if you have a regional league that's getting $1,000 a team, you're giving cash back. You got to pay the field something, and refs are getting $200 or $250 plus hotels and some travel money here and there. There's just not a lot of money in there for these regionals. It's all of them. Like, I am speaking for every regional league out there. It's difficult.
Totally.
So that's the first thing. He brought up paint. I mean, as we all know, I made paint, right? And I like hard work and I like hard times. Like, there's nothing that really shakes me. Listen, man, I'm telling you, everybody out there, making paint is almost equivalent to mining coal 100 years ago.
That's crazy.
Those companies did pretty well, I think, right?
They did a lot better than paintball companies do. But I'm talking about the level of work. Like, I was a machinist. My father was a machinist. I'm a machinist.
Yeah.
It's not an easy job. It's a blue collar job. Making paint, if there's something below white, blue, and I don't know what the next color down the chart is, it's below that. It's like whale shit in the ocean. It is the worst job you can ever do. I would go in at 4 a.m. and my Fitbit would have me clocked at 7,000 calories burnt a day. It
Holy
was a
smoke.
gnarly workout. Like the people at HK, Valken, and Core,
shit.
all
Yeah.
those people, it is tough work. So when
So
we
can you walk us through, sorry, what is that process like of making paint? Because there is actually a question that we'll get into. We have some more Discord questions, and thank you to everybody in PTG world. But what is the paint process like of making that?
I mean, I think people out there see the videos of like these machines and the ball, like Markey or whoever
Yeah.
GI puts them out of balls falling out of the dies. But before you even get to that point, the making the fill and making the gelatin, and again, Montreal's setup that Core has for their paint is light years ahead of everyone else, right? Like their gelatin melters goes right into the machine, and it's cost millions of dollars for them to develop this, right? But when you talk about the smaller companies like we had, I mean, it's craft brewing, and it's, I mean, there's starch in the paint. You're talking about 50-pound sacks of starch up on an IBC tote with a big hole cut in it that you're having to cut 14 bags into this tote with peg. And then you're using the biggest spatula you've ever seen, like spearing chunks of starch to break it up because it doesn't just naturally absorb in. Like, dude, I'm telling you,
That's crazy.
The gelatin, and not many people are using virgin gelatin. Like,
That's right.
Again, tournament level balls for every company, there's a lot of virgin in that.
Yeah.
But like the field level balls, they're using recycled ribbon. That's something that's come out of a pharmaceutical plant that is a clear gelatin. But you think about like NyQuil, fish oil, stuff like that. It's very soft. There's a lot of glycerin in it. But you're literally talking about bags. I'm a big dude, right? 6'1", 300 pounds. Like, I'm not small. Dude, it beats the out of you. Like, it's gnarly. I mean, you're literally talking about picking up 20 tons a day. Like, you leave work like just like the sickest pump ever. But that's 7 days a week. That's not just on a month. That's not the Mondays. That's the days. Like the guy Rami, right? That is here with me, worked at APX. He would leave practice early on Sunday to be to APX to make the gel all through the night to be able to just turn on at 3:00 in the morning to have good gel. Like the gelatin, you don't just melt the gelatin and mix it with color. You have to suck all of the air out of it. So it's a vacuum chamber. There can be no air in there. Wow. So gelatin in its natural state would probably look something like Swiss cheese. There would be a lot of air bubbles inside of there. If you have an air bubble go in, and I'm sure every once in a while somebody sees a paintball where it looks like it's got like a pimple sticking off of it or a thin spot, that's an air bubble in the gelatin ribbon. But you literally, it takes like hours to suck because you're mixing it and sucking all the air out of it. But if there's so much air when you start, you'll suck it right through the pipes, the gelatin will, and you'll clog your whole vacuum. It's just a process, man. People think that the paint companies are making paint for $10. There is no company
no way
for $10.
Right.
Nobody. Not
probably like 17, 18. Is that in the ballpark?
It could be. And then also, where's your paint being made?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Mexico.
Shipping, freight.
Right. Mexico. So now you need a truck to come across the border because nobody from America is going down there to end up on the next World Star Hip Hop video by the cartel getting, seriously. You got to get some Mad Max ass rig to get it over the border. Yeah. And then from there, it's got to be picked up. And where are you shipping to? When that's Southern California area, Montreal's on the Eastern Seaboard, Valken's here now. But wherever you go, it's expensive. A semi-truck of paint from Southern California to the Eastern Seaboard, New York, you're talking about $10,000 in a reefer trailer. Well, you can only fit 2,600 cases in there. So now you're adding $4 a case just in shipping to get it to a place. And no fields can take a whole truck of paint, right? So no matter how you do it, it is very, and I think GI owns their own trucks, so that gives them some flexibility. But even then, think about it. They own these trucks that are depreciating. They move paint for a little bit cheaper because they own the trucks. Then they backhaul produce or whatever into Montreal. So they make some money there. But you're talking about $100,000 or whatever rigs with a reefer trailer on it. Are you really making any money? Because that money could be working other ways for you. The paintballs is tough. There's no industry, like Alex Keys and I used to talk about it. There's no industry like paintball. Like, everybody's beating the next guy up for 50 cents. If you told Walmart you're going to be operating on 10% margins, they would just file BK and liquidate and call it a day. It's just not worth it. You know what I mean? So making paint is impossible. And when it comes to leagues, which is where the question started, When I sold APX, I went to a lot of the paint companies, right? Not naming names, but I said, hey, what's your best price? What's your best paintball, right? And Core showed up with the best ball, like the evil ball at WC. My 13-year-old son that's playing some kind of video game, Rainbow Six upstairs or something like that, runs the
He
paint.
stayed steady working back there too. I went and saw him because I was looking for you to give you the pizza, and I saw him and I was like, damn, dude, he's getting big.
Yeah.
Crazy.
He lifted 70,000 pounds of paint this weekend.
Jesus.
Damn.
Kid's getting big.
He's the only person that works the paint truck. So
Yeah.
we sold nearly 2 trucks of paint. So, but the GI paint was the best paint for us. So as USXBL goes, they offer 2 options there, Evil and 4-star. And, you know, the last event, the paint was definitely harder, but it was 107 with a bazillion % humidity. All the paint, if not properly taken care of, if you don't have pit crew guys like Vic or the heat crew taking care of your paint, everything gets bouncy. But at WC, I mean, Marcelo, you've seen the paint that we have. A lot of people die on the break.
100%. Yeah, it was great. Drop it from, waist height. It's breaking. It's fantastic. That's the issue is none of the teams. And it's funny. Sean like comes up to me all the time. He's like, look at them. They're sorry to throw them under the bus because we're giving away some secrets, but everyone should know this in the Premier Division. We're like 30 minutes before our game and people have packs loaded, pods are on their back. They're standing in the sun. It was hot out there this weekend. It was like 90 degrees, 95 degrees. It's humid. Like, yeah, well, we're not going to go tell them to put their paint in a cooler. You just want to bounce somebody off the break.
Teams walk up with like 20 tickets and give them to Colin, and Colin's like, "You want 20? You
even
can
Colin knows.
No, we just want all the paint now." And you're like,
brutal.
We'll play.
Paint management's a big part of winning.
But yeah, I mean, the Evil paint honestly has that they've made. There was not one bad case after the weekend, not one leaky case, not one anything. I mean, somebody comes back with a broken bag and you're like, you probably dropped that one on the ground and you're putting it on.
Right.
But okay. But besides that, I think the paint is in a good place. I think there's kind of a set pricing in Texas that a lot of the leagues are holding, that nobody's more, nobody's really less. It's all on a flat line. So, I mean, reffing, that's the paint one. And just listening to the players, I think in years past, there's been at USXBL in particular, there's been some deaf ears, and just is what it is. And all the players out there that are talking know exactly who and what I'm talking about. And some people have stepped out, people have to step up, or they're going to be in the dustbin of history. Right. And it's simple. The players speak with their money. Exactly, and if they don't support my league or they don't support your league or your product, it's because we're doing something wrong or we don't have a value in what we're doing. And I know we have a value. I know our product. I don't care who wins. Like people talk about that. Like somebody this week instead of refs, we're probably taking $100 bribes. With the example that I made out of the idiots on the wild cards that I'll continue to do for the rest of my life, could you imagine if I heard somebody offered a ref $100?
Well, hold on real quick, Mike. Did you guys let a ref go this weekend too for making a bad call? My girlfriend showed up to the hotel. She took the train up to meet us Friday because we had the Slice House grand opening, and she got there before we were done playing. And she said she went to the bar and there was a ref, bigger, heavier set guy that was like crying at the bar and started talking to her about paintball and was like, I got let go. I made a bad call. I was like, I doubt he just made a bad call. There must have been something if he got let go.
He made a bad call, and then he was talked to about it. Luckily, it didn't cost the team the game. Yeah. Then he made another bad call, and it was the same call.
Oof.
And that's what I mean. Like, and I'll be the first, never put this any other direction because it always sits with me. Sure. But like when you have 30 or 40 refs and one person makes a bad call, all Dynasty, Heat
comes down on everyone.
All we're going to remember is that one bad call, not the other 12 referees that are doing really a great job and a thankless job.
Yeah.
But when you talk to somebody and it's like, hey man, like I don't care if it's Premier. I really could care less about the Premier teams compared to my D5 teams. Because if we as an industry piss off the D5 guys, where does our growth come? Like if we don't have more in D5 and less than 3 and 2 and 1 to pro up the triangle, we're in trouble, right? If we lose a generation, it's going to continue to
absolutely
come down the pipeline. So, and I hear it, man. I think also there's an urban myth rule book, right? Like I really wonder with how many of the young kids that you both coach, like if you showed up to the Misfits practice and you said, what's the under 60-second penalty rule? How many guys would really know that there's actually a whole subsection in the rule book that if it's 5-on-5, I'm down a point or however many to Tyler's team, and I just go running. Boom. Red flag goes up. We already know it's a swing point. It does not matter. Stop. Another point for Tyler. But in under 60 seconds, when you do that, doesn't matter how many bodies you have left to pull. You have to start down. Start down one with 4 bodies. It doesn't matter. And you try to explain this to players, and they're like, no. And I'm like, brother, trust me. And I said, just send me a message. I'll shoot over the rule book and you can read it. I just don't think a lot of the younger players understand the rule book, which is crazy, right?
It is crazy. That's the first thing. If you want to get good at anything, the very first thing you should do is know the rules.
And if you plan on breaking them, at least know where the line is. Where the line step. You know what I mean?
And
Mike, this guy's saying $100 buy off, bro.
Right.
I would I would have posters of you at the end. Looking for this idiot. You know what I mean?
Well, I think reffing is what makes or breaks leagues. Obviously, the venue's nice. You want to make sure that it's a good venue. You want to make. I think the webcast is a big boost to the WCPPL, and any regional league that can have some sort of footage, I think, is fantastic. But reffing, at the end of the day, teams don't want to walk away feeling like they got screwed because of incompetent refs or people that were intentionally trying to, screw them. And I got to give a little bit of a shout out and pay my respects to Bobby, head ref of the Premier Field. I would go on the field in between pretty much any match that I could just to get some time on it. It's a blind layout. So the more time that I could actually be on the field and see different angles was important. And in between every game, he would get all the refs together and give really good speeches. Yeah, really good talks, right? And so it made me realize, it's like, damn, refs really are like a team. They need to work together. They need to understand, they have like kind of plays and where they should stand in zones, if you will. Right. And having a leader that kind of motivates, it was hot. It was terrible out there for the refs, I'm sure. And he did a great job of motivating them. Like, hey, a couple more matches today. This is when it's more important than ever. Let's not get lazy. And I was like, that's that job right there. The head ref job is an important role. It's not just about knowing all the rules. You got to keep everyone else kind of in check, in line, and make sure things are running smooth. That's huge.
And also looking for what kind of crazy calls can come down, understanding it. Here's one we had, right? 1-on-1, me and you shoot me. Second, and the second it goes to a 1-on-1, a lot of refs don't want to go in there and start pulling guys apart, right? Looking for old hits or anything like that. So you smoke me clear as night and day. As this happens, the ref comes in to check you because now you're the only guy. They find there's an obvious hit inside your pack. It's night and day obvious. But as this is happening, my team concedes to save the time, right? So what do you do in that situation? They conceded, and everybody would think the concede is there's no more argument to be had. You gave the point up. But in the rule book, the head ref of the field has the ultimate say. Yeah. And we had to go through this whole process of it. And even me, I thought the urban myth, and I pulled Bobby over to field 2, Bucky's field, to talk to him about it. And the rule is written in pen. This is the way it's got to be. And it was the right call. But it was one of those ones, even for myself, as one of the top guys in the game, you're like, wow, I didn't think about it like that, and you're totally right. So Bobby does.
What is it, Mike? To clarification, what exactly is
that situation? The head ref has the final say on the call.
Really? I mean? So the ref could say, even though you blew the buzzer, we're giving the point.
There was a hit, and there is no such thing as an obvious or an unobvious hit. There's a hit. You shot me, right? Yeah. Which, if you would have been dead, I would have won the point anyways. Yeah. So it's a swing point the other way, and you're starting down bodies now. So I don't like a crazy flip of emotion where you win a 1-on-1. Jacob Edwards smokes whoever next for the 1-on-1, but then they find a hit on him.
Yeah,
it's just a really wild swing of emotion. And the team did concede, but in that moment, the head ref's in there checking the guy, finds it, and that word overruled that concede button. Because and when you really think about it, it's the right thing to do. Because what's the ref going to do? Go in there and start pulling guys? Right. I mean, it literally hit the guy and went right in the pod, the loop. It was inside of it, but it was huge. And as you look at how it sprayed across the rest of the back, you're like, yeah, that dude dove into the snake and definitely caught it right down the top. So just learning stuff like that. But yeah, Bobby did a great job. I mean,
at the end of the day, what are rules for? They're supposed to keep the game fair, right? And I don't remember exactly. Right? Yeah, I don't remember exactly what happened. It was the first event this year, but there was something with our team where a situation happened, and I was talking to you about the rules and you were like, well, you said something along the lines of like, it's not right for you to get this. I forget exactly what it was, right? But you saying that, I'm like, well, I can't disagree with you there. You're right. And that's what rules should be for, is to keep the game fair. So I guess I don't hate that rule, because if it's a one-on-one and somebody shoots another player, but then has a hit on him, they never deserve to win that point.
Totally. And it's also not the referee's job to come pull you off the field. It's your job to come on the field. Now, don't get me wrong, if you can't see it and you're like, hey, and I'm not shooting my gun, but I mean, I don't know how many times this week I saw somebody point at their back, have a hit in their chest. The ref
it's gotten bad.
The penalty flies up, and then they come off the field looking at me, and I'm like, what can I do about this? Like, that's smoke, dude. And then you watch the young teams that, even nameless teams, right, that we both watch out there that just walk off the field. And all of a sudden, later in the point, their guy pulls it out, and you're like, man, if you got that penalty, he's walking with you, and you gave your team a chance to have that gumption and pull it back. So,
100%.
That's right. Because at the end of the day, if you're playing on, and as a player when you get hit, you're saying that you don't have faith. Essentially, you don't have faith in the other guys out there to get it done. Well,
you're either saying that, or you're just saying I am the most selfish person in the world, and I can care less about your feelings.
Yep.
Because it's me, and me. So, back to the original question, like our WC will continue. We'll start bringing in like How and the pro guys are now coming in to do WC on our second and third field. And our WC number one field guys and head guys will be now going into Texas for our second field, which we'll have open at our championships. So we have the best possible crews and guys also not from the local area. So there can be no even thought of collusion or bias or anything like that.
Nice. And you said a second field at the championship. When is that happening?
A third field. I got to look at it on my phone. It's the weekend before the WC championship. Okay. When we bought the league, we really didn't think about it. It's the 14th, 15th is USXBL, and 20th, 21st, 22nd is WC. So it's back-to-back weekends.
Mike, what's the highest division in the USXBL?
Division 4. Next year, we'll probably go to a Division 3. I think Texas is going to see the most ranked up players this year a region has ever seen. That's because you have Bunkerfest, USXBL, and XTPL all doing 4 D4, D5 events. Plus, NXL was there, and a lot of those teams will go to World Cup because it's not a far flight. So you're talking about like some D4 teams have the ability to play, not saying they all will, but 14 Division 4 events. Not hard to catch 2 or 3 good scores and move up when you have that. Like WC, there's 4 events. Next year, there'll be Vegas. I don't think a ton. Some will. I hope they all do. But with only 4 events, it's harder to rank guys out. When you play 10, 12 events, you're going to rank out.
And the next WC and USXBL, is that in September or
October?
October.
Back-to-back weekends. So we'll get done there, drive home, set up, and
Mike, would you consider, you guys do really fun things, and you always bring it to a vote with the players. I love how you brought it to a vote as far as bringing the X back again. So as for like, really trying to do things to make the players have the most fun, would you consider having maybe one of the 4 events open to where one of the pros could be maximum points? Like,
I think our goal next year in USXBL is to actually have an open event.
Oh, cool. USXBL, not WCPPL.
No, and there's some theories to what we're doing with it. Like next year, if Sean and the guys play WC again, I believe there'll be 5 events next year. 4 WCs and 1 USXBL that they'll have to travel out to. Because a lot of our teams would like to travel, right? And especially if we go to Dallas it's an easy flight for these teams. Dallas is cheap to fly into, right? No matter where you're flying out of, it's a hub, and it's literally one of the cheapest airports there is. So that would make sense. And I think with this big break we have at the back end of the year, if we can line up that USXBL event and do an open division where we give away 15,000 for first place, and kind of do like we do at WC with the blind, you know what I mean? And guys don't have to practice, come in, do that.
Mike, I love that idea. That'd be sick.
And I think it's a good way to get you guys with our Texas players at the same field, playing on the same fields. There's just something cool about that, And again, that's not, we would call it open. I would never call it pro. While all the pros will be allowed to play, and we hope they do. We know, obviously we've talked lightly with the Dynasty guys. We know Damage is committed to come. We have some of the names coming, but we honestly would not do it to compete with Tom Cole. Like, and it's weird. I've talked about it before, right? Like,
Yeah.
if anything Tom Cole does, and when Tom Cole's back's turned, the pussies of the world need to stab him, right? Like, and again, I don't agree with everything Marcelo does. He doesn't. It's okay that we have difference of opinion. I know one thing to be true. Tom, like the Boy Scouts thing he just did, he's trying to show the Boy Scouts paintball.
Totally.
And even if the Boy Scouts don't embrace it, you got a lot of young men with dads that like the outdoors, Boy Scouts, that are going to play paintball. How is that not a good thing?
Sure.
People, like, I'm watching people just flame him about it. And it's like,
it's crazy.
If that dude was selling $20 bills for $10, somebody would still be pissed. You know,
100%.
Like
100%.
So for us, that's our goal. And I do think, and another one, competition's a good thing. I don't know about that in paintball, guys. At some level, yes, it is. But Marcelo, you now are a part owner in a restaurant. I went there Sunday night. I was exhausted, but went in. Your brother's working in there. We're eating pizza at your place. That is a billion and billion dollar industry. Paintball is in the millions, and it's not a lot. Right?
You can't eat each other. That's for sure.
So at some point, does there need to be competition? Maybe there needs to be just a think tank promoting stuff. You know what I mean? But true competition, if somebody did a league to go at Tom, both of them would be in the graveyard. I don't think somebody would knock the NXL out and like take over paintball. You know what I mean? And why? Like, that's again the narcissistic, like, delusions of grandeur idea. How about just make paintball, like you're saying, Marcelo, make a good event that your players want. Do you guys want the X? What do you want? You want the mini X? Cool. You don't want it? We won't use it. You don't want the big X, but you do want the mini X's? Cool. We'll put the bricks with that. Make paintball fun, right? And I think another one on a quick side note that we're going to have to address as an industry is the teeing off on each other, and like and I'm not talking about our pro division. I'm talking about in the divisional, where you see these videos of dudes unleashing 30, 40 balls into the other guy's goggles. Yeah. Listen, back in the day, that might have happened. At some point, we run into serious insurance issues.
Yep.
And like, think back when we all played as younger kids. I don't remember that many times Marcelo being a kid where he took his goggles off and his face had paint on him from a ball that went through the venting or whatever it was. I'm not trying to throw stones at any manufacturer, but I do feel the quality of the goggle is not what it once was when we were younger. And at some point, if we keep teeing off on dudes' heads, sooner or later, somebody's eye is going to get seriously messed up or removed. And now we run into an insurance. Well, at some point, if ASTM pulls back, the insurance will stop insuring us for a while. And the second a local field doesn't have insurance,
game over.
Business. And I know that sounds like really crazy. Like, that's like, some conspiracy level stuff, but it's really not. And
it's not at all, man.
Our JT goggles that we wear, Marcelo, say right on them when we buy them, if you take a direct hit, you're supposed to change the lens out. Now, nobody has enough money to change 30 lenses a month, so we don't do it. But like, man, guys, I saw a 10-man video of just dudes just going at each other. One dude's got a bunch of hits here. The other dude's got a bunch of hits here. I don't care if you shoot me 200 times. I got like a lot of belly here, right? Like, I can take that. 200, like, you start putting 20, 30 balls on the same place, it's going to be like that little sub that went down to Lucy the Titanic. It ain't coming. Like, it's gonna implode. That lens will crack through.
Well, I feel like I actually really like and appreciate the rule that you guys have implemented, whereas headhunting in your league is unacceptable. Yeah, targeting. And I'm with that. And especially like it's not a professional division. You can argue that let the pro division do what the pro division does. Other divisions don't need to follow that standards. It's kind of like that in most sports. But I like that. And you're right. It seems like almost every other event now, there's some sort of crazy overshooting story or a video that gets released. And it's like, dude, are you kidding? And we were talking about this too. I also feel like, yes, the quality of equipment maybe have gone down, but paint is also harder, I think, especially practice paint. Practice paint is fucking crazy
this
hard.
Weekend on Sunday, Glenn Forrester had a guy out there with him, right? An older gentleman. The guy had to have been 60, 70 years old. Met him. He was one of the original RP formulation guys. Like one of the original guys with some of the original patents, and we're talking about paint. And this guy's crazy smart, right? Does a lot of consulting now from different companies, soft gel. But he was talking about the original RP Sure and how they made it. And they used some wax in it, room temperature, and you could make a thinner ribbon. And I think back to the 2,500 round brown box RP Sure Marbleizer cases, it was never as hard as it is now. You know what I mean? Like
Yes,
you just didn't
totally.
get Roque like that.
Totally.
And you're right.
I think it's a problem.
Right? We're having to make the ribbons thicker. And by doing that, it's just a harder product that's hitting people. And sooner or later, I'm not trying to be dramatic. It's just somebody.
I agree with you. That's something I've been concerned
really
with.
Going to get hurt. You know what I mean? And like,
I love that, Mike.
But man, if you have that much violence in you, just go to the local MMA gym and let them hands fly. Let's just not talk. Get to it. You know what I mean? And there's just like all of us at practice and at tournaments with each other. I think there is a level of violence, as we call it, but it's just a level of intensity, right?
Yes.
It's not like I want to hurt Marcelo. Like I'll lose the picture of you and I, Tyler, when you guys beat us at the last tournament. Mm-hmm. Like if that looks like Mike Hinman pissed, I just lost. But I love the dude that I'm hugging. You've been my friend. You'll be my friend until the last breath in my lungs. And like once the buzzer goes off, back to being boys. But these kids think that we're going to make it violent and that's how we're going to get there. And it's just a bad look. It goes back to when the guns were uncapped. You have dudes at the local field shooting 22 balls a second, Bob's guns, all the Timmies, all those, and they were fun to shoot, right? But putting that many balls on a new player, we killed a generation of players. Like in the sense of they just didn't want to come back. Kids don't want to get shot like that. And I just think at some point, and our rule is more, you're the last guy. I'm 6 foot, you're 6 foot plus. We're running down. For me to get that barrel to the back of your head, I have to try to wheel it up. Now, if I'm running down the snake and you're down on a knee and your head's right there, that's not targeting. If two guys are running through and just, guys down low and they happen to shoot each other, guy goes under the X, you're going to catch a 10 in the head. You know what I mean? But when you purposely come to that last dude and come up underneath the guy, it's just got danger. And, for our rule, for somebody to get in trouble for it, like 3 or 4 reps, everybody has to be unanimous. It's kind of like the NBA. Tyler's driving the lane and I just drill him right in the face. You know what I mean? Like that's a flagrant 1. Right. Now, if I miss the ball and happen to hit his face, flagrant 2, whatever it is, but like it's not intentional. But when you're running, we have videos of it, right? Like we went through it with the referees where guys come up like 5.5-foot dudes are coming up to 6.5-foot tall dudes, purposely shooting them and waiting for the back of the head. I don't think that's a good, and especially with the youth movement that we're all trying to promote right now, right? WC does, every Texas league does, NXL does. Everybody's pushing this youth movement, which we should, right? Because that's really our customer. It's not anybody else but young men is where we're really trying to get after, right? Like, not that anybody else isn't welcome, but that is the 98% of our business. We're showing these little kids that like we want to go punish heads, and like, man, I just don't think it's a good look. You know what I mean? And that's me saying it.
Yeah.
I know. I was going to say that because you are rowdy.
But then again, I have kids. Like all these guys out here have kids, these promoters, and like they think it's funny. And like you even talk to David Ramirez, that is the owner of Violence.
Yeah.
He's not talking about that. He understands it. I went right to his team and said, hey, just to be clear, I see that thing come up. And you have the ability to think through the process, just like college football. You are leading with your head into another person's head. You are out of the game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we talked about it this weekend again about, the second time could be an event and the third time could be a whole season you're out of our league. We just don't want it. And we don't want you.
We have to uphold the integrity, man. So there's, I love that, Mike. And I love that you guys are going to bat to make sure that when people come to the event, that they do have a layer of protection and that, the league is looking out for players out there. And speaking of that, I want to hit on Dub C. Marcelo's team took the big win out there. How are they looking? And what about any young players on the squad that are looking promising for the team? How is Vegas looking out there?
I mean, Marcelo's coaching is a level above his friends that are out there with him right now. Like his ability to get what's in his brain that's for all coaches, right? Like I believe I know a lot, but sometimes I'm not received well, probably because of the way I've come at players. Marcelo's ability to get the words out of his mouth and make sure they are absorbed. Like we've had a lot of great speakers in the history of mankind, right? That don't have to say a lot of words, but they're felt by the populace that's hearing them. I think Marcelo's done a really good job, and he's exceeded me as a coach in the sense that he gets the game plan to his players They absorb it well. And he has some young guys, Bushby, Cameron, that won the one-on-one. He has some great young players on his team, but it's everybody on his team, right? Like back in the day, he's able to get, Ron Jackson on Bob's team or whoever it is to play well and the young guys to play well, right? It's not just the young kids that are listening to him. It's Ellis. Farmer wasn't at this event. Like the original LTZ guys are all able to absorb what he's saying, and they're playing well. I mean, it was interesting there, right? Because we had them, and on the other side of the bracket, we had the Missouri All-Stars, Todd Boyer's guys. And I thought they would do well. You never think somebody's going to do really good or really bad. You just know they're going to do good. But KC guys go 4-0. And they, first game, they blow out their first team. And then they catch Mouse's team, the TJ All-Stars that are in first place. And I'm like, I even said on silent, I'm like, this is going to be a 1-point back and forth Rocky Balboa slugfest. And Todd Boyer's guys just 5-0'd him.
And actually, we have Todd coming on the show next. So he's like,
Todd, and you know what it was with them? It wasn't, and they had a couple of the killer guys, I believe, from Florida, or one or two of them playing with them. It wasn't one great move. It wasn't like they were taking the 50D on the break or something crazy punch. It was just team paintball, 3-on-3. He's here, and here. Yeah. And they put it together surgical. You know what I mean? And then you have Marcelo's guys coming up the other side. And I believe, Marcelo, you guys submitted your team in the semifinals too, yeah?
In the quarterfinals. Semifinals, we played Regime. We didn't mercy them. It was 3-2, I think.
Okay, that was.
But yeah.
But you knew you had two big trains on a track heading towards each other, and somebody was going to get knocked off. You know what I mean? And on that one, I mean, Marcelo and his guys, again, he works with them a lot of weeks. I see his story where he's going back and forth to Vegas. It's a 45-minute flight for us out there. But he's done a great job with them, So,
yes, he has.
I mean, that team's an interesting situation because you've got Sean that played on LTZ, a couple of the guys, and they haven't played in many years, right? Coming back into it. But there's still a lot of passion. And, like Fit, Blast Camp, these younger teams, there's something special about them, right? There's something special about every one of them. And you just hope that team is allowed to stick together. You hope, whether it's Aftermath or Iron Men or whatever Dynasty or whatever teams it is, they leave those kids alone and let them build their own thing and come up through the ranks, because who knows where they could get to. I mean, I know Sean's guys are going to play semi-pro in Chicago. We'll see how they do there, right? I'm not saying they're going to win, or I'm not forecasting it for them, but I think they'll be a very competitive team. And it's just a cool story. But I mean, there's so many of those teams in the WC. Map Chim's guys coming out of the north, right?
It's so competitive. Yeah, Map Chim. It's like basically all the old Naughty Dogs won a ton of pro tournaments back in the day. All the teams have a couple of pros. The Missouri All-Stars played. You're so right. I think I even brought it up to you before the finals. I was like, it's tough to game plan against a team like that, because it's not like, okay, let's isolate this one person or one thing that they're doing. They just played good conservative team paintball. So that's always the toughest to plan against.
When it's not 5 in a static position, and they just shoot one of your guys first.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think against you guys, they tried to stretch a little bit out to that snake corner. They tried to take some little bigger bites than they were. And I think you guys capitalized by shooting guys on the break. And we all know when it's 5-on-4, it feels a whole lot better than the opposite, right? So it was great paintball to watch. It's got to be what it's like for Dana White at the UFC to watch all these unknown fighters that none of us have ever heard of, but they see fights every day, every week, watching tape and being able to be front row and hear those fists crashing. And for me, standing right there and just watching it and being like, man, who's Marcelo going to put on the field? And I watched some of those guys go out there and I'm like, I don't know. I might play some of these guys, and then they step up. I mean, it was great paintball. And it was, there's a little bit of a backstory there too, right? The Misfit guys played D3 last year, won my league, went to World Cup, stepped up to D2, and beat Todd and his guys at World Cup, right? So there's a bit of a backstory there. No bad blood, just a tense rivalry. And afterwards, you see dudes shaking hands, genuine smile, just like we all do when one of us loses or wins. It was just good paintball. And I was happy to see somebody else come in and do good, because there's like this belief that only Southern California teams do well, even though like 70% of the trophies have always been handed to teams that don't come from here.
Is that something people say? I haven't heard that one. Only the SoCal ones. If they don't go to the academy, they have no chance.
Right. And then you stop and you're like, regime has been
hold
slaughtering. I mean,
You're
hunters, right?
Yeah.
But none of us ever see them because they're up at ambush.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
I don't, at the end of the day, I'm going to give 30 some grand in cash away. I don't, and it ain't coming back to me or Colin or Tracy or any of our family. So like, give a shit who gets it. You know what I mean? Like, as long as it's the two teams that deserve to be there.
Mike, have you guys had I'm sure you have. You guys have had a premier team that's won back-to-back events in a season, right?
Yeah.
Is it the Hunters?
The Hunters and Regime too.
And Regime. Oh, and Regime. Damn. Yeah, Regime's good. It's like they just play this really solid paintball, and they've got some salty veterans on the team that aren't going to give up. You know,
but their story's
frustrating to
too,
play.
Right? They don't really practice.
Yeah. It's crazy.
They flat out don't practice paintball. They just show up at the event. Time to go play paintball. They do great, right? Prince is there sometimes. Prince is there other times. Borrow some shoes from somebody else, and they have a team.
Imagine if they did practice.
Podesta's in the snake handling it. It's funny.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, Mikey, before we let you go, we're going to hop into the Discord for a couple more questions. We have Cam Clifford, and he says, Mike, thank you for everything you do, making the WCPPL as great as it is. The last two layouts have been some of his favorites out there. The past two the past two seasons, the last two have been his favorites. Any chance that they're going to see the X laying down for event 4?
Doubtful. I mean, people keep bringing it up to me. How that's going to play is going to be more like a wall or a brick because you can't see over it. Well, you can see over it, no problem. But it's the inside of that. Yeah. I feel like if we're going to lay that thing down and how much space it takes up, like long ways.
Agreed.
I honestly feel that at that point we just bring back the bricks if that's what we're going to do.
Yep.
Again, just because, and I would answer him just because I've actually played it multiple times like that in a 5-man and even in a 10-man format in Philadelphia back in the day. And it's just not.
No, that was actually when they first debuted X Ball. They had that huge X, and it was kind of crazy. It was at World Cup, I think 04 or something like that. But it was a bunch of bunkers in an X formation, and everything was just blocked out, you know?
Yeah. Again, if I really thought we could get a good quality product, I would absolutely do it. And just to be clear with the layouts, Thomas Taylor from Infamous is the single-handed biggest influence on those layouts.
He's been crushing it.
Thomas,
you guys both have.
It really shows how intelligent Thomas, not that anybody didn't think Thomas wasn't smart, but if you look at his layouts and the ideas he comes up with, and sometimes, I'll be like, hey, let's change this, let's change that, let's move these things around. And then he'll come back and be like, well, if we put this here, we're going to have this issue. And we don't even build the layout until Monday of the event.
Damn.
Because that's another one, right? Like, God, was it event 1 this year? It was event 1 that like one of the AZ teams was like, I heard Velocity or Camp Pendleton had it. And I'm just like, that's too long of a wait to hear this bullshit. I can't do it, man. You know what I mean? Like there's really, it's just sad. You know what I mean? And we've heard it in the pro division too, right? That X Factor, you guys or Impact got a layout, but it's like, dude, I can't even entertain that. That's crazy.
For sure.
The bad business plan.
Yeah. Right. Hinge, we got Rounder. This is Jordan. Shout out to Jordan from Suffer.
That's Karen. Hey, Karen. He was the one bitching at me today. Bitching at me today.
What was he bitching at you about?
Because his guy got a hopper hit and wasn't a hopper hit. And now it's 4 days later and he wants to talk about it. So I came home, Colin and I got a crystal ball, the Ouija board and the magic 8 ball and tried to like, what in the
Oh no, Jordan.
And then he said he couldn't find me at the event. You can't miss me. I'm 300 pounds. I'm big.
Anytime I looked for you, I was able to find you, Mike.
Right? You had pizza. Found me. I ate it.
Come find him. Well, Jordan wants to know, from what you've seen so far, what teams do you think should move up to Premier Division next season? And what teams do you think from Premier should drop back down to D3? Oof, hot take.
I don't know if anybody in D3 is ready to move up there right now.
Damn. Yeah, I didn't watch any D3 games. But I do know Premier's tough.
No knock at the D3 teams. I think Wicked's done really well this year. There's good teams in there. There's levels to this. You know what I mean? And Wicked, we all love Steph. We've seen Wicked do it before, and they struggled, right? Like they did really good one year in D3 and moved up the next year, and our division's continuing to get tougher. So I just don't know.
It's tough.
Yeah,
what's tough about it, and it's like semi-pro, right? Like we talked about that earlier real quick. If a team gets a pro spot and they come up, man, you think about it. You go from riding that wave. You are the baddest mother there is in semi-pro. And then you come in with the rest of us. You might have been great in college, but now you're on Sunday. And it's an all-star game every day. And there's dudes like yourselves that have a look in their eye that's not natural. Like it's a different level. Mouse, all you guys, right? It's not fake. It's real. Like you guys have zoned out. We're not family men. You guys are murderers at that point and sociopathic almost at that level. You know what I mean? Like you guys are. So for these young teams that go from being the best in D3 to coming into D2, where they're going to have to face your team, Mouse's team. And there's guys on Mouse's team that are getting pro invite tryout. There's Snake Guy, Arietta, Hector's kid is going to get some looks this year. Like, so I think it's going to be tough. And again, I think there's teams that could move up. It's got to be a 2-year plan, right? Like
Lock in.
This first year is going to possibly be a little rougher than we expect, but by year 2, we're going to be there. And I think a lot of teams that go from winning in they don't even call it USXBL. Our D5s always win. Then they come into D4 and there's some hardened vets sitting in there that are waiting for them, and you don't win anymore. And when you stop winning, it's like riding a wave. Once you fall off that wave, you'll never get back on that one. And I think it just becomes tough. Jordan's second part of the question on who should drop back down. I don't think anybody should drop down if they enjoy like Raw Material had a bad event, right? Like they have one good event a year where Kevin's guys show up with like 5 dudes, pull out a dub, or not a dub, but like get into the
right.
Or they win some prelim games. And as long as they're enjoying the journey, I think that's what matters, you know? And I hope they don't drop out, you know? But it's tough, man. It's a tough division to be in. And next year, I think with the 5 events, we're either going to give away a crazy amount of money at the end of the year or possibly more money than even you guys get in the pro division for each win, which I think we're only $1,000 less right now. We're at 7. You guys are at 8. Like, it would be above 8 is the theory, as long as we have the same team counts we do. It's not going to get any easier in there, you know? So.
Yeah.
All right, my last question is from Young Lettuce, and the people want to know about paint. So he's asking, Mike, as the former owner of APX, can you explain how it came to be that paint companies started producing only dark purple shell for tournaments? And would it be difficult to get them to switch to a brighter yellow shell or a bright shell or a clear shell? How does that work?
I mean, it's just dye in the ball, right? I mean, for yellow paint, especially like at the NXL, no, it's not hard. It's a little harder when you have a pink fill, like the Evil ball that we've shot at both here in USXBL is like a goldish color ball, but it's really a yellow shell, but with the pink backing, right? And you can see through it. It creates more of a goldish color to the ball. So if you're using like a pink or a darker color fill, you run into issues of bleed through on color. But like for the NXL, no. I know Tom and my boy Joe Barrett was and Mike Mesa, when they played on Aftermath, were all big proponents of the lighter shell. It wouldn't be hard for them to do. I believe there's a belief amongst the people that make the paint that a darker color shell is harder to see coming in. Like if you make a black shell, for sure, you will not see it coming in. Also, you don't see it on the camera as well, right? So what you're saying is not wrong. There's just a belief. And I think that purple, like for us, the dark purple, if you use a virgin material on the first run for your tournament paint, you can use it again and even possibly up to a third time. You have to mix virgin material back in with it, but you could 50-50 the ball. And that purple, it's not hard to make a dark purple metallic ball, right? Like you add the pearl in, that gives you the metallic, the sparkle. And then the purple is just however much red and whatever else color, yellow or whatever you're putting together to make that color. Or that would make orange, but whatever the different color, it's easier to make a darker color because if it starts to get different tones to it, you can just darken it up easier than lighten it back up.
I see.
But
that makes sense.
Makes sense. Yeah.
It's not
All right.
hard to do. They can do it. And I thought we agreed this year to do that, but I did notice we're seeing darker shells more at the NXL again.
Yeah, we need that light shell. Mike, last question for me from the Discord. I do have one personal question after this, but from Cyrus, he was the 6'3", 6'4" gentleman in the white cowboy hat at the event this last weekend. If you remember him. Yeah, from Dynamic, exactly. Yeah. Oh, man, Mike's a man of the people. He knows. He goes, love the WCPPL events. Definitely worth the travel, and it was a pleasure to meet you. Question, in your opinion, what is the main thing that separates the good divisional players from the future pro divisional players?
I think the future pro divisional players like yourself, Cyrus, know to shut their mouth and listen with both their ears and talk half as much as they listen and observe and absorb. We see these young players coming in trying, like Cody Woodruff, Wayne Woodruff, that's running Aftermath. And Cody's a super good guy, right? Like if you've played around Cody, nobody got nothing bad to say with Cody. I love Cody. He's a good dude. He works with WC and he's been my friend for a decade plus. I told him when he got to Aftermath a year and a half ago, I think at World Cup, I said, hey man, let me give you some advice. First year, just shut up and listen. And I don't like just listen, like Connor Kelly on your team, or when Artie came to you guys, right? Or Damien or whoever it is, just do your job. Like these guys are going to teach you one move, right? Because nobody needs you to play Tyler or Marcelo's spot, right? Like nobody needs that. You're here to be a weapon, right? Don't outthink it. Go do your move. But as you continually do that, and we get to play Dynasty, and I'm playing you in Houston in a couple of weeks, Tyler, and these kids get all those reps from a year, and they just observe and absorb. And, you know, like what's Mouse doing this weekend? What's Marcel? Oh, you're playing? Oh, and you're playing? Mm-hmm. Like, what do you guys think? Do you think Tyler gets an HK box of paint and goes and just stages it for a photo and then goes home and has beers the rest of the day? No, he's really living that life at 119 degrees at Wild West Paintball, right? That's where you play. I watch you. Like that's what they're doing. So, and I think there's other guys that he's talking about, and even some of the guys that he played with, because he played with the Scarios and they won. And the last year, I've had some issues with the Scario guys, right? Not long-term, not deep-rooted issues, but I think they stepped up and they're like, hey, we hired Rainey. We're putting some time in. We got this. You know what I mean? And it took Rainey multiple events to break through those guys' hard skulls. Just listen to what Rainey's saying. And now that if you had told me at the beginning or end of last year where I had a huge blowout with those guys at that tournament because we just had massive difference of opinion to they would be holding a trophy here, I would never taken that bet. But they did what, you know, listen to what's ahead of you. And for a kid like Cyrus, a great player, right? That Dynamic team's got a lot of talent out of the East Coast. And that's, you know, people talk about where the best players are. West Coast, the third, Texas, down to the third coast, Florida, whatever. That's retarded. There's good, like I said, unique groups of people that get together and make great teams, right? Trauma. I mean, we can name them. Shock back in the day, the real OG teams. And there's just something special about that group of human beings. And I think, you know, there's good talent coming up everywhere. And I think for those guys, you got to do everything you can do to be a sponge. You know, like a kid on Academy that runs at Julian. Last year, he scouted for Aftermath the whole season. Never played. It was never part. Just come scout. He had the money to be able to fly with us and learn. But Julian learned a lot from it. So I think young players, you realize how much you've put in to get to where you're at. Man, short-term goal, you've done your job. Long-term goal, to be one of these two dudes on the screen, bro, it might not be achievable. And if it is, you can't have too many oops days, right? Like you've got to just be a true student of the game. What? Mouse is going out to ASG Thursday from 10 to 2? Yeah, I'm going to be there. And, you know, it's tough, man. It's tough. None of you guys are making $1 million doing this. If anything, there's sacrifices made with our families, with our children, with our girlfriends, right? For why we do this. You have to be willing to sacrifice everything. When I was young, I got in a car with Doc and Sonny and all those guys and went to an addicted practice, 10-man that was like freezing us somewhere in Texas. I don't know, it was Dallas or where we were at, Jeremy Hazelwood's house. But when they said that, it was like, yeah, I bought an expedition. We drove, you know what I mean? Like you have to do extreme things to be part of it. You know what I mean?
It was like when you guys would go, the only reason I got my shot, I think, maybe you correct me if I'm wrong. I know you bring up velocity, but I think it's because you guys would be at Adrenaline, that little shitty Wednesday night paintball field that was on this gravel in this, in Temecula. And I would go up there every Wednesday night and you'd be out there with Mini Mike, Fish, you know, and your boys, and I would be out there just trying to play as much as I could. I knew you guys were going to be there, so I was like, hey, Dad, we got to get up there. Whoever we can get to, like, however I could get up there, we got to get up there every Wednesday night. These guys are going to be there. We got to go.
Yeah. No, 100%. And you're right. I mean, that's the more you expose your ability to other pro players, the more chances of, like, me getting on Dynasty. Kenny Rosenberg snaps his femur on a Saturday. They call me in Chicago. Saturday night, me and Mini Mike are on a plane. Todd and SK pick me up. Sunday night, I'm driving home in a 15-person van with Dynasty to Southern California. When I started Friday, flying from San Diego to Midway to be on Aftershock. And that's how life goes sometimes, right? Totally. And opportunities, you get an opportunity, you got to make the most of it. So I think young guys like that just keep putting in the time and getting, I think quality reps are important. You know, like if you get a chance to show up, if Tyler is going to be in Wild West paintball and doing drills, and he's willing to let you be on that field that he's shooting broken paint boxes or whatever target he's eliminating, and you can go sit there and observe and absorb and stay out of his way, but try to take it in. I think every young player has to do it, because I think it's like two friends, like me and Marcel have been boys. You know, we always slap box and fight and whatever our sport is. But I know his weakness and he knows mine, but I don't know Tyler's. And when you go watch a real pro, like Marcelo said at the beginning of this, the speed in which they play paint, the hand speed, those windows, like Mouse, man, you watch Mouse's first ball is so on target. I mean, he doesn't miss often. You know what I mean? And like that speed is important. And it's okay that you can't play at that speed, but you need to understand how fast Conor McGregor's hands really are. Because once you do, you know, once you see it, then you understand it. Once we hear Einstein and these smart people, we start understanding that, you know, it broadens our horizons. And I think for young players, if you have an ability, if you're in Florida, go watch Damage. You know, you might not be on the field with them. I'd go pick up pods and fill pods for Damage. If that was me. Because when I was young, I tried out for the Ironman, Rich Telford's Ironman in Modesto. First day of practice, it was a 2-day tryout. He told me to go home after Saturday. Said, you just don't got it, man. And he was totally right, because I had never seen the drills that Rich Telford put his guys through, because he didn't have an airball field, right? He had hyperball too.
Yeah.
And we're doing
schools,
right? And we're doing all these different stations. I had never done something like that. And it was kind of, you know, it was a reality check for me coming home from Modesto down the 99 to Southern California. It's a, you know, 8-hour drive or whatever, where I had to look in the mirror and be like, dude, if you want to keep chasing this dream, you got to see it. And once you go get around all these other pros, that, like, because there's pros doing clinics and there's pros in their own element. Like at Camp Pendleton, Stretch one day did a picture. Diesel was playing Aftermath, and it was like a exposed, like a time lapse of all the different moves that were made. There was hundreds of bodies.
Yeah.
But in that picture, in the top left corner, you see that open field at Camp Pendleton, number 4, that Mouse always drilled on. And you see 2 bodies standing there. And that's Mouse and Brandon Cornell doing drills all day long. And that's, if you get to go get in on, fuck that pro practice. Like, if you get to go do drills with those guys, learn from them.
Absolutely.
So I think that's really important for young players out there.
Yeah, for sure. Love that. Listen, be a sponge, absorb the knowledge.
There's so much knowledge and there's so much like love. But guys like us, I hear some young kid trying to tell me how it's going to be. Cool, brother. Like, God bless you, man. Like, I hope that works out for you. But just to be clear, like Danny Park went to Impact for a year. After that, they all were failures. So maybe listen to what I'm trying to tell you. But if you want to tell me at D3 how it's really going to go, okay, bud. Good luck. Okay, you know, like, listen, you get in what you get out what you put in. For you young kids out there, if you're willing to go to the end of the earth and work harder than anybody in the game, you will get to put your hand in the circle with one of these guys one day. But if you are not willing to outwork them on every level, that means you might have to work third shift. You might have to go through sacrifice, all of it. If you're not willing to do that, what, you just think you're going to get lucky? You don't get lucky at this level. Like, what, do we really think Mouse, Marcelo, Jacob Edwards, those guys get lucky? Billy Bernaccia gets lucky? No, they put in their time. Literally, BJ Diesel, team chat. He's out doing drills right now.
You have to. Yeah.
This is what you have to do to be great at this game. Because I know what you guys are doing, so I have to be better than that.
100%.
So
perpetuate greatness.
Mike, our last question before we let you go and we let Todd in here. What can we expect from Diesel heading into the final two events? You've got one event coaching under the belt. Obviously, the team did much better. Looked like they were going to make a deep Sunday run. Didn't quite get past, I think it was Heat, right? But
Yep,
fucking right there. Huge improvement. What can everybody expect for the last two events?
I mean, I think our identity is we're going to come out swinging, right? Like we're going to play paintball. You know, we had some injuries. Ice got hurt at the last event. Me coming in before the first set of practices, I think everybody was getting to know each other as much as we all know each other until you've been in the pit with somebody through an event, through all the practices, a full set of it. I think, you know, we're all getting a little more comfortable. I know we picked up Jesse Stevens. You know, it's just, you guys all know you've played for me. The best 5 dudes that show up in Chicago are going to play paintball. Number 6 and 7 will probably get some reps, and much beyond that's going to be difficult, you know?
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of running unless both 10 guys are playing out of their minds. I don't see that happening. We're going to play paintball and continue to build, you know. We're trying to build the win right here, and we believe we have the tools to be able to get deep into Sunday today. But also Mark is very committed to the process of building a championship roster for many years to come. I mean, Mark has directly told me that when his time comes and he's done, he's going to keep doing this. I think Mark's like us. He's a lifer in the game. He's got the ability to run a financial ability to run a pro team. His heart beats for this thing. You know, I call guys out, and Mark's been out the field the last 2-3 weeks at Fit, running drills, doing the Mark stuff, you know, with Clint and all the rest of the guys too. So we're gonna come out swinging, man. Wherever that leads us, you know. You hope you go 4-0. You might go 0-4 or something in between there.
Hell yeah.
You're the man,
Awesome,
Mike.
man. Yeah,
I appreciate you guys, man. I always appreciate being on here. Everybody out there, if you ever got anything for me, please just send me a message. I'm far more approachable than you think I am. But
well, we salute you.
You know? I think we're all just got to keep taking this flag up the hillside and plant it, right? And show people how much fun that moment is, right? Because for a lot of people, when this moment's done, and I've stepped back and the moment's been done for me, you look back and it's like, man, there's nothing better than this. And that's why for all of us, we're going to go from kids playing this game to our last breaths, we'll have paintball in it, right? Because it's just truly a lifelong sport and journey that we're all on together. So, yeah, man.
Dude, the community commends you for everything that you've done in the game. I mean, on the West Coast, now in Texas, and we can't wait to see the journey that you're on with the leagues and with AC Diesel. So we salute you on behalf of PTG and the whole community. We're right there with you, man.
I appreciate it, man. I just want to say thank you to there's been a lot more people than we could name through the last 16 years of me doing tournament paintball like this. But everybody out there that ever hears this, you know who you are. And from one friend to another, I appreciate everybody. I think my better days are still ahead of me. And I think we got some stuff up our sleeves on this side of the fence. You know, like we're not big for talking, we're more about showing. So that's kind of where we're at with it. You know, the current WC staff from Bobby, like you said, Tracy, my girlfriend and right hand and partner in crime and life. You know, I'm super stoked to have just great people around me. Road trips to Texas are actually kind of fun. So yeah, man. And if anybody out there hasn't been to a paintball field lately, come out to one of our events or anybody's events. Just come be part of the community again. You know, come back home.
That's it. Play some paintball. Let's go, people.
Hell yeah, Mike.
I love you, boys. You guys have a good one, man.
Sir.
All right,
love
Mike.
You too, man.
You too, bro. Love you.
Thanks, Hinge. Peace.
Absolute legend.
The OG of all OGs, the man. He crushes it every time he's on.
Yes, he's the people's champ, dude. The people go crazy when Mike comes on the show.
They do. They do. He's a fan favorite for sure.
He is.
Hell yeah, man. Well, shoot. We've got another stunner that we've been wanting to get on the show for quite some time now. This individual we already said who it is. So why am I even hyping it up? We already said earlier who it's going to be.
Give him the intro. Give him the intro.
Big Todd Boyer. Let's bring him on in.
What's up, boys? What's going on?
What's happening?
What up, doggy?
Dude,
good to see you.
Vibing, man. Listening to Mike, dude. He's a absolute legend, man. Getting to chat with him out there at WC was really, really awesome, man. He showed us love like I would never expect. You know, you walk in and you kind of you're an out of towner. You don't know, how the event's going to be. I've never played the WCPL before, WCPPL, before. And so, we didn't know what to expect. But as soon as Mike see me, man, he's just like, dude, thanks for coming out. And I mean, he just gave us a couple tips and we ran with it and played, paintball and had a blast, dude. So shout out to Mike, dude. He's a legend.
He really is. And you guys did amazing out there, for that to be the first time that the team stepped into that league, which is one of the most competitive leagues in the nation right now, and be able to place that second place is a huge statement. It's big.
Yeah, I honestly think, like, looking back at just the event and kind of our mentality going into it, honestly, the reason why we even played the WCPPL is because we skipped Philly because I was having my child June 13th.
Dude, congrats.
Congratulations, brother.
Thanks.
Bro,
so it was during fireworks season and, the child's coming. So we opt out on Philly, and it was like four, almost 5 months.
Hold on. Fireworks season?
Oh yeah.
4th of July, you guys call it fireworks season? It's a whole
Well,
season?
I own a fireworks stand, yeah. So for
bro,
me,
what? Legendary.
Yeah,
okay.
I sell kitty whiskers and all that good stuff.
I didn't know that. Oh, that's dope, Todd.
Yeah,
cool.
man. I'm into like all the exotic things, life has to offer, fireworks and paintballs,
Nice.
Do you have the fireworks that Joe Dirt was talking about?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about, the kitty whiskers. I got all the kitty whiskers and all that stuff, man. So
oh man, you're like Joe Exotic. We're gonna call you Todd Exotic.
Yeah, dude, exactly.
Todd Exotic.
Everybody was calling me the Todd Father during the fireworks season because I sling like Godfathers like crazy out of the booth. Nice. Well, I don't know about Tyler, but I know you probably don't, because California, like, fireworks are real strict.
I don't know shit about no fireworks, man. I've lit like 4 in my life, and we were in like North Carolina, maybe Texas ones. I don't know. We were, it was when I was younger.
I couldn't imagine it.
Paintball.
I couldn't imagine it, dude. The one thing I love more than paintball is fireworks.
Oh,
absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah, super passionate.
You have any dogs?
I do. I have 2 dogs.
Oh, do they love it as much as you?
They're chill with it. I mean,
Nice.
I think like when dogs like are, any animals opt to be around it more often than the other, they kind of get used to it.
For sure,
just like anything, So that's why we skipped Philly, and it was about 4 to 5 months in between where we weren't going to do anything. So I really wanted to like get the guys playing some type of tournament paintball. So we decided to play the WCPPL, and obviously people, that was the 3rd event.
3rd, yeah.
Yeah, so there's people running for the series. It's a little bit more serious for, people. Well, we were just like, I brought my family out there. My 2 kids were there, my wife, and my buddies brought their girls. Like, we were just like, we were having fun. So we showed up, and we didn't have to get all crazy like we normally do and get serious. We just wanted to play some fun paintball, and ended up doing really, really well, because it just, I don't know, man, when you're having fun, like, look at Dynasty, when you guys are out there having fun. Like, I talked about how Blake is one of my favorite players to watch, because every time he's on the field, like, he's got a smile on his face, just having a great time. And we kind of put that onto the field while we were out there, and it worked. Yeah. It worked for us all the way until we seen you guys in the finals. So, so yeah,
you guys were playing really good paintball, and it definitely showed that you were, there's a fine line there, and it's kind of an art of being able to have fun while you're playing, but also be serious enough to win and understand all the important things that go into winning. If you have too much fun, then you're not going to take it serious enough. If you don't have enough fun, then you're going to take it too serious and you can't perform. Right. There's a balance in this like perfect little sweet spot of enjoying what you're doing so that you can kind of be in that flow state, so you can, not second guess things, so that you can just really perform it at your highest level. And you guys were definitely in that, man. Like, watching your guys' games, I don't know, I know you were backstage a little bit while we were talking to Mike. I don't know if you heard this, but I was mentioning to Mike, like, one of the things that was difficult about you guys was it wasn't like you guys were doing it wasn't like, okay, they're winning down the snake side. They have a really aggressive snake player. They're, if we shut that down, we can, have a chance. Or they have a really aggressive Dorito player. You guys were playing a very conservative breakout most of the event. So can't really key up on shooting anybody off the break, right? Conservative breakout. You guys played great team paintball. You would get the first kill, then the second kill, and then win the point as a team. That's hard to scout for. That's hard to make a game plan to beat, right? That's the type of paintball. Like, if I'm ever watching a team and they just have one player that's winning all these electric games down the snake side, you know, and it might look like some of the best paintball you've ever seen. But from my standpoint as a coach or a competitor, I would say, well, they're easy to beat, right? You just shut that down. Easy. Because who else is going to beat me? You know what I mean?
On that guy.
Yeah, totally. It's like, you know, in basketball, if there's one player that's going off, it happens to Steph Curry sometimes. Hey, you know what? Make somebody besides Steph Curry beat us. You know, you got to see what the rest of the team's going to do. You guys, all 5 players that were on the field were constantly firing and stepping up. So it was,
it was crazy. It was crazy, man. Like we picked up Ryan, you know, from the Killers. He's a phenomenal paintball player. And you know, he was killer on the snake side and went in and would handle business. And then the next point, like, you know, our player, Alex Bubba Cross, he would be up at the center, just dogging people out. Like it was just mind boggling because we usually don't all, you know, come out and just clutch things out. Like even Clayton Long, number 7, he won a 2-on-3 or a 1-on-2. So it's just, everybody had their moments where they were just kind of clocking in, and we were all recognizing it. We were all on the same page. We're like, damn, like you're playing good. And the vibes in the pits, like it just, everything felt good. I truly believed that we were going to win the event. Like I wasn't going to lose to Vegas Misfits. I wasn't going to lose to them again. And, you know, looking at my boys, like we were all on the same page, man. You know, but when you get punched in the mouth, like all that goes out the door, you know, like as soon as you start taking pressure, you know, things change, you know. And I think like the biggest thing that made us lose, looking back at it and just kind of after talking with you and talking with my coach and players, like you said, we were scoutable. Number 1, we didn't run a lot of different plays because everything was just working. And so, you know, like it just, we didn't need to do anything crazy, right? So we didn't have, like, once we started getting everything pushed in a little bit and we were like 1-4 and 1-5, like
5-1, you mean? Like you're winning these games. Yeah. You guys were kicking everyone's ass. Like you mercied, I think, everybody on Saturday, which is the final day. Right? You mercy, you know, in the prelims, you guys were kicking butt. So that is tough. You don't.
It was surprising. Tested. It was surprising. I don't know what it was. Like people just were underestimating me. I'm not usually a 2. I honestly told Leon, my coach, that I wanted to be a 1. Like I lost all this weight coming into this. I've been training really hard. Like I want to eat, and I end up just playing the 2 role out of the can, shooting the snake way so well that I end up just locking myself in that job, which it's kind of unfortunate. Like I don't want to play 2. I'm glad that I played it well. It was probably the best event I've ever played as a 2. I don't know why. It's like people were just running in my paint and making my job easy, you know? And so that's kind of what was going on with those teams and why we 5-0'd them. I mean, as soon as you start getting those bodies dropped and we're America, which is what we call 5 Alive, it makes our lives easy, you know?
Yeah, totally.
So, and it was complete opposite going in the finals against you guys. Like we were doing some of the normal stuff, but we were losing bodies. You guys shot us off the break, you know, and trying to
that
cover.
Wasn't towards the end though. I feel like you guys ran the first point. We weren't quite ready for you to run the first point. You made it. You guys beat us the first point. I do want to talk about that because, you know, Ryan definitely got me fired up by yelling, "Quit crying, Marcelo," when one of the players
he said something. He's like, "Oh man." He's like, I fucked up. Like, he's like, I got him going. He's like, I said something to Marcelo. I'm like, what'd you say? He's like, I don't even know. I just chirped something to him. And I'm like, well, fuck, dude. Like,
I'll tell you what, the rest of the match, I was on because he said, so one of the players had it could have been Rub. I don't know, but he had something that looked like a hit on his loader at the very first point.
It was me.
That was you, Todd?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Were you hit? Be honest.
I was not hit. No. Okay.
So because he was like, hey, no, don't hit the buzzer. And then you like ran off all conspicuous. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think hopefully everybody knows me enough like at this point to know that I would tell you if I cheated because
fair.
I don't mind telling people. Yeah,
that's
but
one of those things.
It was Rub.
Real quick, that's one of those things where it's like, I don't know. To me, I look at like if you wipe a hit, I really look down on that. If you're playing with a loader hit, don't realize it until you're going to hit the buzzer and you run off the field. I mean, that's one of those like things that just kind of happens, right? But I was like, yeah, I see that. And then, you know, he yells, "Quit crying, Marcel." I'm like, hold up, what? And so the rest of the match, I was on fire, yelling like whatever I could. And I was on him. I was like, oh man, why did he,
he never told us. He didn't tell us that he said that until after the match was over, which you've seen how we handle it, man. Like here's what it boils down to. When I was D4 and D3 and coming up and I would lose to these teams, like I would be so upset because like I would look across and I would see these people I would be losing to, and it would just piss me off so much because I just know they're not doing shit. They've just been in paintball longer than me, and they just, you know what I mean? Like they've been playing for a long time, but it's not like they're working. They're not not traveling 5 hours away like we used to, and like going to all these places. So it would just like it'd frustrate me so bad. But now that we're in semi-pro, there's not any team that I'm going to lose to where I'm like, if I'm losing to a team, it's because they deserve to beat us.
Sure.
It really boils down to that. Like if I'm going to play, if we were to do an event next weekend and I lost against Misfits again, it's because they prep for it. They do the work. Like how can you be pissed about that? You know what I mean? All you can do is just like internally go like, fuck, well, I better go work harder. I better train more because that's the team that's beat me twice now, and I need to beat them, so I got to train harder. Like it's really that simple. And Blast Camp and Fit, they're the exact same way. Like that's why I have so much respect for those guys, is because I've been to the Blast Camp practices with those dudes since I think our first season we started traveling there was D4, and so I see what they do, I see the work, and I'm just like, I'm with you. I want to do that. I want to work as hard as you guys, and I want to mimic what you guys are doing. That way I can be at your level and I can beat you guys. And so if you don't show respect to a team that beats you, then like, I mean, what are you really doing? It's how can you beat somebody if you don't respect them? Like you're not going to work. You're not going to work hard if you're going home making all these excuses. You're just going to be in your mind, like your ego is going to get in the way, and you're just not going to work as hard. So right now I'm just, Marcel, ton of respect to you guys, ton of respect to the Vegas Golden Misfits. Like those dudes are studs, man. Ben, Cameron, like me and Cameron traded on the wire one point, and I just look and I seen it, and I as much as I'm a competitor and I'm pissed that I died in that moment, I still was like, fuck, man, good shot, bro. Like we're down 3 points, and I'm still just hyped for him because I've kind of seen, the work he's put in, and he's come down to the KC Sports Complex, and like I've a year ago, wow. He's completely different level at this point. Like I've seen the kid. He's respect, man. Like respect the guys that are putting the work in. Period. If you lose to some D4 team that doesn't put any work and you're pissed about it, sure, be pissed because like you shouldn't have lost. But anybody else that's putting in the work, respect to those guys. So.
That's an amazing mindset, man. And that is going to take you a long way on your paintball career. And speaking of that, we want to know more about you, how this all started for you. Where did paintball even begin on your journey?
Okay. So I would say paintball for me wasn't super traditional as far as speedball goes. I started off in the cave when I was like 23, 22 range. I've played before prior, but like just at some friend's house, and like when I was 16, 17.
Wait, you started in a cave?
Yeah, so Jager's paintball in a cave, the slogan, like paintball in a cave, cool. It's been around for like, dude, this paintball place, Jager's, has been around for like 30 plus years. I mean, they have like this. Yeah, it's crazy. They have like all kinds of like Bob White cave ball, like this like famous like cave ball team. Like I don't know, man. So that's where I started. You can play all year round. It's 60 degrees in there. It's very stinky. You know what I mean? Like it smells like a cave, and it smells like paintballs inside of a cave. So you can imagine what that smells like. But yeah, that's where I started. And I was playing rec ball back then, and I seen speedball, but I wasn't vibing with the people that were playing at that time. It just didn't seem like the right fit for me to walk up and like talk with those dudes and try to get in with them. But I actually eventually started playing speedball when I was 24 at a 2v2 tournament at that location. That was the first time I ever played. Bought a CSR, was my first speedball gun. So I bought a CSR and then went and played the following week in that 2v2 tournament and got shit on.
Yeah. And how old are you right now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 30.
30. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
So total, you've been playing for about
6 years.
About 6, yeah, a little more than 6 years. That's amazing, man. And you've been kicking ass, dude. And I've been watching your journey for the last few years, and the work ethic is second to none. You definitely
100%.
care about the process that we're talking about. You care about the culture of the game. You care about, the branding. Obviously, you're crushing it. And for anyone that doesn't know, he's the owner of KC Sports Complex. And please go follow them on Instagram at KC Sports Complex. Show some love there. And also the team, the Missouri All-Stars. And you're playing semi-pro ball. And also follow them on Instagram at the Missouri All-Stars and show some love as well for that movement. But it's been really cool to watch you develop this organization, develop yourself as a player. And I had no idea you started playing in a cave. This is amazing. So how did the tournament aspect develop?
Well, so I'm really competitive, and I remember my buddy that I was playing with, Brandon was his name, and we would play. So it's weird that the Hormesis 1v1 thing came into play now, because we actually played in a speedball room that was the size of that. It was probably a little smaller. It was like a 60 by 40 room, and so we just called it like the bloody knuckle room. Like that's where we would just go in and just play with like these little rec ball guns. Like I wasn't really trying to play rec ball. I wanted to play something more competitive. I just didn't know how to get into it, right? So so me and my buddy would just play that, and then when the 2v2 dropped, we were like, oh, we got it. We're going to go destroy these kids, Not a chance, we got like dead last. I don't even think we won, one match, but that was outdoor. So it's like a cave indoor, and then up top is like speedball and a big old castle thing. So
dude, this sounds amazing. I got to get out there. I've never even heard of this place, but it sounds like
sounds dope.
Yeah,
it's a bucket list item, dude. We need a PTG cave school.
It's pretty cool. I would say like I coming up, Jaggers was definitely cool. I wish that they cared a little bit more about the speedball scene than they do. I think that as far as rec ball goes, I mean, it's the mecca. It's like if you're just a kid, you're trying to play paintball, like it's really, really, really neat, but it doesn't have that really good stepping stone to speedball yet.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I mean, I started playing, I didn't start playing speedball. I started playing out in the woods and playing recreational big games and all that kind of stuff. And then, after 5 or 6 months, I started playing some speedball. But we definitely need both, and if we can apply the speedball aspect to it as well, that'll get even more growth for that company there.
Oh yeah.
First time I ever played woods ball was with the Maple Leaf Chiefs in ICPO.
Yeah,
you're a chief.
I never played in woods or like anything like that. No hyper, no mounds. Well, actually, I did. I take that back. I played with Mark Johnson in a street ball event on a hyperball field at Kickin Indoor, which is in like Pierce, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
So I played that, but yeah, first time I ever played woods was just like a few years ago with the Chiefs. So
yeah, that's crazy.
But it was fun, man. If people don't know about playing in the woods, like for 10 mans, it's a lot of fun. It just takes you out of like being serious, and you can just go hang out with your friends and partake in the shenanigans. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
10 man's lit.
Yeah, so I guess I'll just go really quick through kind of the transition. So I started with the 2v2 tournament, and I instantly was like, hey man, that was really shitty, but don't ever want to experience losing like that again. Like, let's try to get better at this. And so we played in that bloody knuckle room for like 6 more months, and then we found a field like 45 minutes from Jaggers that was more around speedball. It's called High Performance Paintball Park out in Harrisonville. Shout out to Kim, Nick, and Jared. Nick and Jared who taught me how to play paintball. And so we went out there, and I just started grinding, and we formed a team called KC Kings and played in the USXBO and won everything in D5. It was crazy. I think it was just because we were drilling so hard that when we came out to actually play D5, we were just like above that D5 level already.
Yeah.
We didn't just straight jump into tournaments. So played USXBL, and then bumped up to D4. We started the Missouri All-Stars, and we started traveling. Actually, we joined Plum Life. take that back. We didn't
Yeah,
start
the
the All-Stars. We joined Damien's organization, Plum Life, and we were traveling for like 2 years to Tulsa, which is about 4.5 hours from me. And I did it every weekend, every single weekend. And it was so exhausting, but so much fun. Looking back, it was like one of the best experiences ever because I just was with my boys every single weekend. We're taking like 6 in a car, just stuffing as full as we can. And we're just driving down, getting hotels and learning paintball from some of the best, in the game, from Damien and my really, really good friend Cody Conklin, and Leon, my current coach. Those guys taught me everything. I'm the player I am because of those guys in that program. So I'm super thankful for it. But once we got through that, we started the All-Stars and we started grinding in Detox in Des Moines, Iowa.
Yeah.
So DMPP, we started playing out there, and then started venturing out into Blast Camp for D4, D3 season. And then I think at the end of D3 season was when I started the complex. And so obviously, like, the complex for me was a super like just selfish thing that I was trying to get done because I was just so burnt on traveling. With my wife was really trying to have a kid during that time. So I'm like, I can't juggle this and have a kid. Obviously, Tyler, it's a struggle, to be as committed as I want to be. Like, I want to play 3 and 4 days a week. And for me to be that in my vision, I'm like, I've got to build something, right? So
Dude,
I just started off with the idea, and I was going to just, barely put any money into it and just kind of rough draft build like a grass field on private land somewhere. And then it just started snowballing. I don't know. Everything I do, I just kind of get obsessive with. It's just kind of, it's in my nature, in your guys' nature too. It's like all the top people, we're all just like, we get obsessive with shit. So I just took the project on, and I went in on the field, and it's been the best move I've made, man. It's really kind of changed the game for me. It makes it to where I can grind as much as I have been. And obviously, I think it's hard for divisional players to go up a division every year. It doesn't really happen around me locally. A lot of people just get trapped in D4 and they don't know how to bump. Like that just never happened with us. We just bumped every year until we hit D2. We were in D2 for 2 years. And then now we're in semi-pro, and we'll probably be in here for 10 years until I get my shit together. So, yeah.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Yeah.
No, Todd, dude, I like Tyler said, we've loved watching your journey. I know we've both talked to you about having you on the show for a long time. We admire players that really devote themselves to getting good. You went as far as saying, you know what, I will just build my own paintball field, provide an amazing experience for other players in the area, and also give myself the chance to be able to practice all the time. That's tremendous. And you're one of those paintball players that are good for the sport. Honestly, you're always putting out good content. You're promoting the right kind of things as far as work ethic and things like that. You provide a little bit of a path for players in your area to look at and say, here's how I can get better, follow in these footsteps. Here's the place that I can go and do that at. So to us, I think I could speak on behalf of Tyler when I say this as well. We're fans of what you do, and we appreciate it. It's, again, really good and really important to have divisional players that, like yourself, are setting the bar and setting the standard, and treating it like, a real sport, and actually putting in effort and work day in and day out, not making excuses and, making sacrifices to put it together. So thank you for that, man.
Man, yeah, you guys are too good, man. I appreciate the kind words, and I have a ton of respect for both of you guys. I've messaged you guys over the years, and I've used everything that you guys have told me on, like, one thing we were starting our conversation off with cheating. I know your mind on cheating, Marcelo. So I've actually shaped up quite a bit, but it was because of a really, really hard loss in D2. I actually reached out to you about it and told you kind of like what happened. And, we were going to make it onto finals, and I got a major, like, when it just was like, I just didn't even need to get a major, So, I don't want to talk about that. So, but yeah, so I've tried to change.
Real quick though, Todd, real quick, because actually Mike brought this up. I don't think you were in. It was pretty early in our conversation. about how bad some of the cheating has gotten in divisional paintball. And he sees it from a league owner standpoint. And it's so true. And I'll tell you what, you can't win a tournament if your foundation is cheating. You won't. Now, do some really good players sometimes get away with some stuff and it helps them? Yes, but there's a difference, and we don't condone either. But if your foundation is cheating, you're screwed from the beginning, man. Like, just get good at the game. Just get good at the game. Respect the game, get good at the game, and it'll make a world of difference, bro.
I'm like one of the kind of guys that I can openly admit it. I don't really know what's wrong with people that can't admit to their flaws. I don't think there's any way to improve on yourself if you can't admit to your own imperfections. I've been this way since I was a kid. Like when me and my friends, I was telling Joey and Keith at the 1v1 Hormesis that like, I'm like, I just naturally play the gray area in anything and everything I do. I can't get it out of me. I'm a competitor, and when I was young and we would play Halo and play split screens, I would just tell my friends like, dude, stop telling me I'm gonna screen hop. You can just screen hop. Like we'll both screen hop and we'll just figure out, who's the better screen hopper, And so that was me growing up, and I hate that I'm like that. I'm way better at it now just because I'm older and I'm just more conscious of kind of what it's doing to my game. I do completely agree with you. I think that it's carried me quite a bit going through the divisions. I think a lot of the stuff that we were winning in the lower divisions, it was really easy for me to cheat, and it carried. I was doing stuff, getting 3-packs when I was really I was killed a few Doritos back, and I should have only got a single kill or 2 kills. And so I built like a legacy on just a bunch of lies, and I really realized that, and it really impacted me when I got my boys a major and we got kicked out. We were gonna just go on and fight for first and second, in Florida, and I got us kicked out because of a major. On it was like under 60 seconds. My boys were gonna score the point. It was real selfish of me, man. It was insane. It was insane. It was one of those things like we were winning it for sure, and the guy shoots me, and I just kind of go out and just roll my trigger just a few more times as I'm like going like this. I've done it so many times, and the ref was like, "Yeah, I know who you are. I know exactly who that ref is. Shout out to him for fucking, changing my mentality because without him calling that, maybe I'm still doing the stupid shit that I was doing, right?
Well, dude,
I say I don't cheat? I cheat. I still cheat. It's hard for me not to. But I try to watch myself as much as I possibly can. The one thing I will say is if I do cheat, it's like some real every now and then a leg something, just get that motherfucker out of there. I mean, but nothing like how I was doing like with
just get that motherfucker out of there.
Nothing like I was doing with like the lens where I was like, I've got like a bunch of content on my Instagram.
Yeah. There was some where I was like, oh, this ain't it. I was like, no, this ain't it, dog.
I like posting stuff like that because I just think that people just try to hide, and it's like, who cares?
Yeah, you know what I appreciate, and I commend you, dude, because you're taking it on the shoulders. Yeah, and there is growth happening, but there's people out there who do this shit and lie on top of it.
What's the point?
Know what I mean?
It's like,
yeah, man.
If I was here's the honesty. Like if we were let's pretend like I'm in a duel and it's me and Marcelo. And I win my 2 out of 3, and Marcelo's just over there steaming, and I'm like so stoked. I would legitimately walk up and be like, "Bro, you shot me in the elbow," and I just was like, and just to rub it in just a little bit more, I mean, like, and he would hate me for it.
No, but no, the worst is when like you shoot somebody and then you talk to them about it afterwards, and they lie to you. It's like, bro, now you're saying that I'm dumb.
I don't get that. I'm usually pretty straight up. Like if somebody was to ask me at an event if we played a team and they were like, hey, did I do this to you? I'd be like, yeah, man, that was a really good shot. I had to get rid of it. Had to do some stuff for my team right there. And so, what I mean? You got the bad end of the stick. I got the good end.
100%.
So,
dude, you're a savage. Hey, go ahead, Marchie.
Yeah, Todd, talk to us about the difference in the, skill level with NXL semi-pro and the Premier division. I'm curious about that because I think they're like obviously outside of PB Fit and Blast Camp, I think it's pretty close.
I actually had this conversation with Mo.
Okay.
Because me and him were on the same page. So I kind of like told him, and I'll just kind of just reread what I said. I said, if I'm being honest, I think Premier was somewhat of a joke compared to semi-pro, but let me break it down and put it in context. Semi-pro, let's say, have elite top 8 teams. Those 8 teams would destroy most of the Premier teams on any given layout. Premier only maybe has 3 to 4 teams, including you guys, now that are absolutely stud teams, just not at the semi-pro level at NXL with layouts. But that's, it's not completely true across the board, right?
Right.
I'm just saying, just the top 8 in semi-pro, in my opinion, are better than majority of premiers besides the top 4 in Premier. So there's just not like enough teams in Premier that I think are really, really excellent that can step over and do really well in semi-pro. But
who are the top 8 semi-pro NXL teams?
I would say and I'm not even putting the All-Stars in there because we're not.
Okay.
So I wish we were, but we're not. So I would say, obviously, we know Fit, Blast Camp, Killers. I'd put Blitz in the conversation. I would put A-Team in the conversation. Mutiny, yeah, you guys are not in there. So keep working, J-Mac.
Damn.
So
no, you ain't gonna do my boy like that.
No. So
for us.
There's a couple more. I'm drawing a blank. We'll just say that top 5 is like, extremely well. I mean, and newbies.
Yeah, but dude, I don't know, really, man. I think like 5 or 6 of the Premier teams would beat any of the teams you just mentioned besides Blast Camp and Fit. TJ Bastards.
This is what I went on to say. I don't disagree with you, but are we talking on the same context? Because like if it's Premier, if semi-pro steps over into Premier, then semi-pro teams are losing. They're not used to blinds. We are used to blinds.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I think it translates, man. The whole like blind. If anything, blind layout, in my opinion, rewards the less experienced team. So if that's what you're getting at, understandable. But I look at the teams like a team like TJ Bastards, definitely the Misfits, Hunters especially. Hunters have been a dominant team in Premier for a long time, and they
also do well at NXL as well.
Exactly, yeah, and they do better off of training on a field. Like their claim to fame is their off the break shooting and their gunfighting from spots, right? So it's their fundamentals on layouts. That's like what they're really good at.
Yeah.
So I think having a layout would like benefit a team like that.
Well, I guess my only like rebuttal is that I don't really necessarily agree that everybody can just play a blind. I don't think that. I think
I agree with that. Yeah,
I think that some of these teams that are top teams are so good because of how disciplined they are. Mm-hmm. Discipline doesn't really take you that far in blinds until late in the game because you're figuring out how to play it, how to be disciplined, right? Like you can look at a layout and go, okay, like this is really simple. We're going to be doing this and you're going to be crossed up here and this is your job. And, and just lay it down for people and your players are going to go, okay, I'm going to do exactly what he said, right? Well, a semi-pro team that doesn't have a Marcelo isn't going to be able to look at a blind and know exactly how to play that disciplined paintball like they're used to playing because they practice bounces or this or that or this or that, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of why I think that Premier teams would beat regular semi-pro teams that don't play blinds. Because they have that edge.
Yeah, sure.
But again, it's like, what are we talking? Are we talking, do they have the top coach? Like, because Killers can step over with Todd Adamson and probably do phenomenal, right? Because they have like this just crazy OG coach. And I mean, that goes for any top pro team or semi-pro team. Like they can, if they got somebody that has like some really good knowledge, then they're going to do fine, But I do think that if it's just a layout, that only 3 or 4 of the Premier teams will do well in semi-pro. That's just truly what I believe. I think that the top 4-ish, 5-ish teams in semi-pro right now are all insane, and they're just like barely not getting into first and second. And it's because Blast Camp and Fit are just putting in way more work. And, they're
it's hard to beat those two teams right now. I mean, they're playing 3-4 times a week. They have the most talent. They have a group that has been together longer than I feel like the Killers have been together a long time.
Killers, they've been together for a few years. Like I've played against the Killers since my first D2 season. So I mean, at least as long as the All Stars. I think the new coach with Todd, I think that we'll start seeing way more Sunday finals by them.
Yeah, for sure.
Marcelo, do you think that the Misfits stepping over into the NXL would be able to be in those finals matches and possibly secure a pro spot in the NXL?
I'll tell you what, and I don't want to make their heads too big. I know a lot of them listen. I tell them this all the time, and I mean it. When I watch them in practice, they inspire me in many different ways. They play incredible paintball. It doesn't always translate at the event. It happened again this event. Like it happened last event when we won our first 2 games. It's like, what team is this? I don't know what I'm watching. You guys are choking, not playing well. But when they play to their potential, they're really good, dude. They're really good. And I believe in the talent, and I believe in what they know about the game after, a couple years of working together and the amount of effort they put in. Now, will it translate their first semi-pro event? Probably not. It's like Todd said, I mean, it's a different animal. You're stepping into the NXL. You're stepping into a league where these teams have been doing it. They've been battling. They're familiar with it. So, is it a tall task? Yeah, certainly. But would I be surprised if they went all the way and won? I mean, it was kind of like when they went from D3 last year to D2 at World Cup. I honestly was like, let's try to make Sunday. Let's try to, make a good run. It'll be a good learning experience. And then they won. And I was like, I guess I'm not really that surprised, I'm not really that surprised because the ceiling is there. The ceiling is there. Now, can you play at that all the time? I don't know. And probably not, but the ceiling's there as far as talent goes. This is a much bigger feat with teams like Blast Camp and Fit. Those two are playing I've gotten to watch Blast Camp and Fit in their final match the last 3 events because they're in the finals right before us and we get to watch. They're playing good paintball, dude. It's just such solid, steady, high level, experienced ball, that you don't see from semi-pro teams. They're playing professional level paintball. So, again, tall feet. Is it possible? Yes. I'm mostly excited for them to get the experience. There's a lot of youth on the team as well. That hasn't been in that space before. They haven't been in that moment. So it's a different game. You play on Sunday on the pro field in the finals, packed stands, it's just a little different. So we'll see. But again, the ceiling with this team is pretty incredible. A lot of just talented players and they work really hard.
Well, that's like what it says on, Todd's hat here. All heart, that's what it takes.
All heart, baby.
Yeah.
All heart.
Yeah.
And when you have your heart,
yeah,
that's it, dude. When you have your heart invested to it and you put the time in, anything can happen. And that ceiling is high because those players know how to play some phenomenal paintball.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, March, it's just showing up and doing it.
That's what it's about. Yeah. You gotta be able to do it in the moment. And that's why I'm it could be so frustrating as a coach. I always tell them, look, if you get shot making a move when you were supposed to try to make a move because of the score or the clock and it doesn't work, I'm never going to get mad at you. I might say, hey, we probably could have went this route and that would have been the better decision, but you needed to make the move. Wrong decision. It's all good. Let's learn. If you lose a gunfight that you were supposed to be taking, there's moments when you should gunfight, moments when you shouldn't. All good. We can get better. But when you simply aren't playing the way that I know you can play, that grinds my gears because that's a mental thing. That's an effort thing or a mental thing, to where you are making the moment bigger than it needs to be, or you're not trying hard enough. And those two things are unacceptable. As a coach, it'll drive you crazy, right? Everything else we can work through. If you just made a bad decision, and it's not something that we have necessarily worked on, cool. We need to work on it. We can get better. It's an area for improvement. But if it's because of effort or just not stepping up to the plate when you need to, that's frustrating. It's really frustrating. And I've noticed this with teams, and even happens on Dynasty as well. There's times where I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we taking this moment for granted, right? Why did we not approach this game like it could be the last paintball game we play this weekend, you know? And that's just the reality. It's like sometimes everybody doesn't show up, you know? And so you need a spark, you need something to ignite that. Happened to us this last event at WC, our third match against Phoenix Rising. We lost. We played very lackluster. The first 2 matches we won. We weren't playing great teams, and we hardly won. We didn't win in any, great fashion. And we were going into our 4th match against NorCal Kings, which are a great premier team. And, they were our rivals last year. They feel confident playing us. I kind of ripped into my guys. I had to. What are we doing? You guys are all taking this for granted. You're taking everything that this organization does for granted. Like, why are we flying out all to meet in Vegas and play in 118-degree weather, get on the field at 6 a.m., and play in those type of conditions? Why are we doing it if when it is time to perform, we're just not going to show up, And the guys responded. They responded exactly how I expect them to. And again, when I say to them that they inspire me, I truly mean it. Like, I learned stuff from those guys. I learned stuff from the kids that I coach, whether it's on Wrecking Crew or on the Misfits. I see them do things and I'm like, man, that was really cool. I'm going to implement that in my game. There's been tons of stuff that some of these kids like Ben, even Alex, Cam, these kids have taught me that I'm like, might not tell you that you showed me this, but I'm putting that into my wheelhouse, and it's a cool thing. That's a really unique position to be in. And it makes me, when Mike was on the show, it makes me think back to when he brought Aftermath up, and he has now told us that like we inspired him in many ways and gave him a team to practice against, and you don't think of it or understand it when you're a kid in that situation, and so it's interesting to be on the other end of it now and being like, man, I'm taking from all of you guys. I love it. Fantastic.
It's crazy that it resonates with me so much because I've got my D4 and D5 complex guys and a few other teams that are playing out there, and that's exactly how I feel like those guys are teaching me a lot. This past year, my whole attitude's changed completely now that I started coaching them, just because it showed me how to be. It's like showing me how to be hungry again too, honestly. Totally. To be in that position and have all that motivation is like kind of helped me through my process with my shoulder surgery, coming out of that, and just being in a slump. Like, those guys got me out of it, like my buddy John Ladwig and Gavin, and those guys really helped out around the field and got me out of my slump and got me remotivated to like just get back after the grind and stuff. But yeah, they do stuff, and when I'm coaching them, I'm watching them, I'm like, damn, like that was a good move, or this or that. And I try to make sure I remember it. And yeah, it's definitely awesome coaching people, man. It's a good experience. If you're a high level paintball player and if you're a semi-pro player, like, reach out to your D5 guys, your D4 guys, and offer to coach, man. Lend a hand, because it can change your game completely. Changes your mindset. Like, my IQ, I feel like I'm just learning stuff, man. When I'm coaching, I have a completely different like mindset than just get into the Dorito 2 and rap and kill people, like I'm kind of it gets me thinking about the game a lot more, which is tight.
Yeah, you see it through a completely different lens, and it rounds you out as a player, and it gives you empathy for your coach and all the the shit they have to jump through to make sure that the organization is moving in the right direction and everybody's heads are on straight. We know the game plans, we know how we're going to approach things. Everybody, we talk about this all the time, knowing what not only our team, every single player on our team is doing, but also the competition, and thinking about 10 players at a time and being able to really have a well-rounded game. And, speaking of the field, we got Mark Paris from the Discord who was wondering, as a field owner, what are ways you've been successful in bringing new players into the sport and getting them to stay?
I mean, it's for the field or for me personally, I guess.
The field.
The field.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just me having the field in the way I built it and just trying to like make sure everybody knows and can see like this is where you come to play competitive paintball. It's actually the opposite. Like, I have a hard time getting brand new players because it's, you're walking into just one single field that, from the D5 all the way up to semi-pro players are playing. So I get lower level players all the time, like new players, and it's like the field's constantly growing. And we do have like Saturdays where I open up if we're not doing layout weekends, where I just do drills, and it's just me, Clayton Long, JD, and Cameron, and those guys will show up, and then we'll all just kind of like go in little groups and do clinics and teach, anyone. Like we had a guy show up in jeans and, a little spider. Yeah. And so it's like, I'll teach anybody on a Saturday. That's really simple because everybody wants to play on paintball on Sunday. So I think that's one thing that I really am going to just stick to doing is making sure I'm doing like clinic style days on Saturdays to get the new players. Because if you're new and we're just running drills, like who cares? You don't have nothing to worry about. Just show up and, we'll work with you and try to teach you, fundamentals and, just how the game breaks down. So that's one thing that I've been trying to implement into the complex that this year currently.
It's amazing that you started the field because you wanted a place to play. And now, you have a whole company essentially, and you're teaching players in blue jeans and like having fun with the entire paintball game and the process that we talk about. That's what it's all about, man. And this is inspiring for all divisional players out there. Everybody that's listening, you could be sitting right here in this chair, man, with enough work ethic and drive and passion to play paintball and be the best that you can be. And that's what you've exuded. And that's why as you move into the future, you're going to be successful because you have, like you said on your hat, all heart, passion, determination to be the best that you can be. And I know we have some more Discord questions. So March, you want to rip one of those?
Oh, sorry. Yes, absolutely. Chad Figs, he wants to know, Todd, what advice would you give someone on how to best prepare for the Hormesis one-on-one duel?
Oh, man. Run a lot. It's cardio. As much cardio as you possibly can. So just a little backstory because a lot of people don't really understand what I actually did to go out to this Florida event. I been wanting to go to one of them. My time was so tight with everything that was going on. So Florida was the only one that I could make. So I had to like really, really beg a few people to get me into it. And once I found out I could go, I booked my flight a week ahead of time. So, paid like top dollar for my flight. It was like $700. You know what I mean? Top money for hotels, all that, man. Well worth every single dollar I paid. But prior to that, I reached out to Joey Blute to see if he would coach me, and he was like all about it. He called me on the phone. He's like, hey, man, this is what I want you to do. Because I told him I was going to practice. I'm like, hey, it's Tuesday. I've got one person that will show up to the field. He has the day off. I'm going to set something up that's like the 1v1, and I'm just going to, run reps on it. And he's like, okay, looked into it and was like, okay, this is what I want you to do. I want you to run 20 points with 10 seconds in between each point and only go to your left. So I did that, and I did 3 sets on Tuesday. And then I did it again Thursday with two different players, and we did 4 sets. So I did all that, and that was, most exhausted I've ever been playing paintball in my entire life. Like I was exhausted. So I did that, drank as much water as I possibly could, hydrated as best as I could, went out there, and I had already been in the gym. I've already been trying to prep for, just paintball in general. And so I thought I was going to be good. I'm like, this is going to be light work. I'm going to come in here and just like kill a few people, eliminate, not kill, but I'm going to eliminate some few people, knock them out, and, be on with my day. It was not like that, man. There was multiple times where like, even in the joust, I played the joust, and the joust was so much fun, man. Like, God, that was the funnest paintball I've literally ever played. I love just being able to like just be on your own 2 feet and not I wrestled in high school. So like I never was a team sports player. I've always been boxing, wrestling, stuff like that. So for me to just be on my own 2 feet and it was good. That's the element I like. The joust was extremely fun, but like I ran 5 points in a row, and Frank Connell like pulls the trump card on me, gets me knocked out, and I'm like, thanks, bro. Like I was about to puke right there. You know what I mean? Like I'm dying. Like get me off this field. You helped me out. So
some of that could have been nerves.
Yeah. The joust isn't really that competitive, right? So I don't think
you're playing in front of Oliver. Maybe you didn't realize you were nervous.
Well, I showed up Oliver, I showed up the day before, so I already got my like little fangirl stuff out. You know what I mean? Like I showed up Friday and I got to hang out with Kevin and Dylan and Oliver and all those guys and Billy. Like, dude, they showed me a ton of love and treated me well while I was down there. Cause like I was by myself. I wasn't kicking it with anybody. You know, I didn't have nothing to do. Came solo. So they're like, yeah, you know, come by and just check it out and stuff. So I already got that out. So I wasn't really trying to stunt. But yeah, I mean, there's the humidity and with how hot it is, if you're going to play in the Arizona, I think it's Arizona and then SC Village is the next two. If you plan on playing that, like drink water, hit some laps. And then when you think that's enough, do 10 times more, you know? So I'm still prepping. Like I'm going to be going to SC Village August 12th to compete in another one because like, man, I took second. Like I like, I'm defeated. Like Smitty dogged me. That dude is a phenomenal player, and I'm not like that. I don't like losing, and if I do, it's fine. Like, you know, respect to Smitty, but I'm coming back, and
hell yeah,
you know, I want to win one of these, man. I want to go fight for the 10K, and I got to be honest. Like, I really want to. I'm glad you guys have me on here because I kind of want to have the conversation. Like, you know, Oliver is kind of getting smoke on the owners group about, you know, how they're strategically picking these players. Like, listen, like D5, D4 guys, like I get it. Like I was there and I was mentally like, oh man, I'm a bad mother, you know, but like this shit is hard. This shit is hard. If you're signing up for the duel, you guys need to be at a very, very high level athletic peak first. That's first. Then second, you need to make sure you're doing like fundamentally drills like all the time. If you're not doing drills every single week, you're not going to be able to compete in this. Like it's not going to happen. Like I want to see the duel fill up with way more semi-pro and D2 players. Like why are we having so many D4 and D5? Like I love it. Like sick. I'm glad these guys are trying to step up to it, but at the same time it's like where are you guys at, D2 players? Where are you guys
They're
at?
too afraid. Their ego. They're too afraid. They're too afraid.
Who cares, man? Yeah. Like it's like you sit here and go out every day, every event you go and lose. I know you lose because I'm losing with you. Right? What does it matter if you're in a 1v1 or not? Who cares? The only reason why people are intimidated by it or scared because they have nothing to hide behind. That's the truest form of improvement. Yeah, if you can't hide behind anything, then you're going to see the truest form of improvement. That's how my wrestling coach was. You know, when he was on me, it's like, dude, if I go out and I lose a meet, like I just lose it. I didn't cut enough weight, or I cut all the weight right before my meet and I was exhausted and, you know, whatever, right? Like, but it's only me. I can only blame me. If you can't stand up and, you know, play 1v1s, like then you just don't respect yourself. You don't love yourself enough to be able to do that, right? You got to be able to respect your abilities and step up. And who cares if you lose? Who cares? Do what I'm doing, man. I lost. I'm on the grind. I'm glad I lost. Like I told Ryan, which is Smitty's boy, like they play together, and Ryan just played with us at WCPPL. I told him like the second place for me did me way more justice than it would ever do him, because he just would have went back to doing his normal drills, and I've upped it, you know, way more. I'm working way harder, dude. That was a hard loss for me, 100%. I hate losing in anything that I do, but when it's in a one-on-one situation, God, man, that just it gets you, man. But I loved it. It was a lot of fun, man.
And you've checked your ego at the door. You know the destination. You know the direction that you're heading. You know what I mean? You're applying yourself so that you can assure greatness in your career, and you're never going to get that being on the sideline. You know, you got to check the ego at the door and just do the work. Get out there and get on the field. Get your ass kicked. Lose, win, whatever happens, get out there and be in the arena. You're not going to find any progression being on the sidelines. You know, like I've played some one-on-one events as well. And yeah, they're definitely, you know, and I would say mine are even maybe a little bit more high stakes when you're playing against really high stakes names players, you know, like big name people. And what are you going to do? Run, cower, hide, get on, say no, get out there, put yourself in the light, you know, because even if you take the L, look what it's done for you. You know, you're progressing.
Yeah, man, it's done a lot. It was one of my favorite things I've done in paintball so far. I'm truly thankful for the experience. I'm thankful that I as much as I hate losing, I'm thankful I lost. It's like I'm so hungry right now. It's people just cannot even understand my passion and hunger for this sport right now. And I'm it's exactly where I need to be, because like, shout out to Ronnie. I've talked to Ronnie and messaged him, and over the few years, and when I was in my slump like 6 months ago, like I was messaging him like, hey man, like this is where I'm at, like my headspace is off and I'm not in it, right? And so from my mind right now compared to what it was, even just 6 months ago, is just, I'm just so thankful that I can be even in this headspace and be humble enough to like take the L, because I can't say that I would have been the same mentality a year ago. So yeah, it was a great experience, man. If you guys aren't playing these jousts and these duels, man, like you guys are sleeping, because it's one of the funnest and coolest things that you can do. I don't foresee this league dying out. I think that it's going to take off. I think that it's in itself, it's a completely different type of paintball. I don't know what I would even call it, right? It's just, it reminds me a lot like tennis, like how Oliver was claiming. It reminds me of tennis, man. Like you don't even have, when you're playing the duel, you don't even have the mindset to think about what the score is, or like that you're losing, right? Like when you're playing X ball, I go out, I run to the Dorito corner, I slide in, I over engage, very first 15 seconds, I'm dead. I have to go sit in the box like a little shitter and cry because I just, I made this huge mistake, and I have to wait like maybe 2 minutes, or maybe Leon looks at me
or you just wipe it off.
Right. But I missed the opportunity to wipe that one. Right.
I'm just kidding.
So I'm sitting there in front of my coach, and he's like, hey man, like you're just not that good. You're going to just sit right here, and that happens across the board for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, I want to play paintball. I want to play, like I want to get these reps in. I don't want to sit here and just like let things fester. That dude, the duel is if you're like me and that's your mindset, you just want to hit these reps, and that's the duel, man. You do not have time to think about anything. It is 20 seconds in between points. The fastest paintball I've ever played in my life. I'm sitting here. I don't know if I want to drink something, if I should, like, I'm checking air, like, oh man, I'm at 2K. Like, is this
You're just
enough?
In the flow.
Dude, it was insane.
Non-stop.
It was insane.
Yeah.
It was insane, man.
My only thing about it is I'm obsessed with the team aspect of paintball and 5-on-5 or multiple bodies on the field and dissecting holes. I think that's like the greatest part of our game. However, I think there's a huge space for the one-on-one format as well, because there still is paintball logic. It's not all fundamentals. People think one-on-ones are all fundamentals. It's not. It's a lot of trickery. It's a lot of experience. It's a lot of IQ, and like if I go this way, they're going to go that way, so I'm going to counter with this. There's a lot of IQ in the gunfight, but I love the team aspect of paintball. So for me, I want both. I wish we could do a similar thing with X ball. Go back to like 2 25-minute halves and have like a minute and a half in between points. So you just are constantly turning, and you have to be in incredible shape and have a legitimate pit crew to be able to get back on the field.
That would be so
do
sick.
Split deck, right? And make it to where it's just nonstop. Boom, 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 boom. Granted, if you get shot early, you still are going to have to wait for the point to end, but
or wipe it.
Yeah. Or Jesus. Yeah. We don't condone that here on PTG. Just going to go ahead and put the public service announcement out.
Yeah, I love playing paintball, man. So that's
Bro.
I mean, I'm with you, dude. Like the 25-minute hash, all that. Like as much, if we can just get more paintball played, that's where I want to be at.
Time out real quick. I want to timestamp this. 2:23 on the dot plus the ads. So young Stevie, or Chris, if you can, let's clip the little part there of Todd saying or wipe it, because that needs to be on this button here. Anytime that needs to be on this button. That needs to be a go-to thing on the show.
Or wipe that.
Or wipe it.
I mean? Get that out of here. That's
kind of funny. It'd be kind of funny.
That would be funny.
Bro, you're a legend. And man, we can't thank you enough for taking the time to hop on the show with us. Marchie, I think I have one more PTG Discord question.
Okay.
Just in regards to the squad. And this is from Cyrus. He's wondering, congrats on the second. It wasn't the result you wanted, but definitely a stepping stone. Have you and your squad worked on being more even kilt emotionally. I know y'all like getting super hyped, but also that sometimes comes with the lows.
So because I'm in the Discord. If you're not in the Discord, you're sleeping. I don't know what you're doing if
Hell
you're
yeah,
not in the
bro, legend.
PTG. You know what I mean? So I seen that, and I was
Yep.
thinking about how to answer that, and it's like, for me, like the All Stars, the players, it's such a weird group of guys because I'm like like me and Trey are kind of like the only like, like, oh, like let's get this shit, you know what I mean? Like let's get it
Yeah.
going, let's go fight these,
Yeah.
And so like my buddy Clay, like he's like one of the best players on our team, like. I'll look at him and be like, look in my eyes, and he'll just be like, just like chill out, you know what I mean? Calm down, You're way too crazy right now. So they're all mellow, right? Like I got to do that because I want my players to feel what I feel. I want them to feel my passion. I want them to like be on the same page with me. However, they have to internally, do it right. Like I want them to unlock their full potential and come out heavy and fast. And I wouldn't want to do it any other way. I think when we need to be calm, we calm down, right? Like during the WCPPL, when we were in the finals, a few times, like I'm coming out like, it's we're 1-2, 1-3 or whatever. And I'm like, hey, like, let's take a deep breath. We're fine. Let's breathe. I'm trying to control the atmosphere in the pit, not fall on each other and, get crazy. We don't do that, And so I'm trying to like get everybody to calm down. But then like once you get towards the end and it's almost, all you have left is this 10% of your gas tank, you got to give it your all, and you got to have somebody around you that's going to put out that energy to get that last 10%, because people just don't even understand. They think internally that they're done, but they're not. They just think that way. They're just like in their head, like, oh man, that's all I got, coach. I'm not saying that until my body is giving out, and that's what my players know of me. My coach knows that of me. My players know that of me, and I try to give that to them. So instead of my last 10%, I'll spend 5% of my energy just to get them to unlock their 10. I think it's very vital. And I think every team needs someone that's going to unlock the potential of the players next to them, whether it be calm or explosive, high energy. Like, dude, like, what's up, T? You're on the same page with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're I see, like, I'm a fly on the wall. I try to like I'm sure you guys have seen me, man. Like I try to be in pro pits as much as I possibly can. I try to absorb. I just listen and I see how, coaches handle things and talk to their pro players and how you guys come and handle, being down that 1 point, which in pro, we know that 1 point that's everything right now. If you're down 1 point, I mean, that could be the match, even if there's 6 minutes on the clock. So I see the energy and I do it, that's what I try to do for my guys. And I've been doing it literally since D4, but that's just me. I'm an energetic, like high energy kind of guy.
Love that.
Yeah. I think it's really important to be able to know how your players respond to certain energies too, because some people respond really well to you getting in their face and trying to get them up, and other people respond really well to a different type of motivation. And being able to like know that of your players is a unique thing that a leader should really try to hone in on. I do have a question about that final match being down. What do you think, obviously having some time now, maybe you've watched film, what do you think went wrong for you guys in that match? And it's, funny.
So the biggest crucial thing is that we did is we tried to send our player JD to the corner. You guys keyed up on him, killed him.
But at that point, it was already 4-1 at that point.
Oh, really? Okay, this is just information I was going with.
You were on our side, right? And I called out that he was going snake corner, and Ryan was kind of like looking at me. Is that what you're talking about?
No, we lost that. I think that was we lost multiple times where we went to the corner, but like it was like 3 points in, we either went to the corner or actually the snake. So it could have been the snake first.
Yes, on your side, you went to the snake. Yeah. Okay. Right.
So we lost our snake runner, and with how Misfits is playing, it's like we knew this going into it. It's like if we didn't get wide, we weren't going to be able to get out of the pocket easily. They were just going to hold these lanes and be disciplined like we knew they would be, right? Like it's a top tier team. Like these guys are going to hold lanes. They're going to make sure that we don't fill out, right? So we try to risk it, and that wasn't the right risk. We didn't have the right read. We were calling ice, or no, yeah, we were calling ice, which is kind of like, hey, they've got guns on the, Dorito side, this, that, and the other. So we try to make it into the snake. We lose him. And then I think like the very next point on your side, Marcelo, we sent a corner and we lost him again.
Yeah.
And it's like a 4v5 against any top team is so hard to lose, especially on that type of layout.
Well, especially being down points, because then it's like predictable.
We just had to start doing. We just had to start
Yeah.
doing stuff. We just had to start, sending things, and it's just a snowball effect, man. It's
How would you guys play that match differently now?
I think that it's so hard to say because I've thought about it so many different times, and it's hard for me to just go be like, I would have, because I that's how I am, and I don't really like pay attention to really what my players are doing. I really just try to let my coach handle that. Me personally, I thought that racing to the 2 heads up to put your Dorito can in was what I should have been doing, but really I should have just stayed on the snake like I had been doing all day, Marcel. I'm sure you've seen like I was getting kills looking. I should have just stayed doing that. The issue is one thing that you guys were doing that nobody else was doing is your guys' pressure on me looking heads up to fill out, where I would kind of dominate. Like I would slip away on a lot of these other teams, and then I would be the back guy that would be all of a sudden in the Dorito 50. You guys never let me do that. And so I was communicating that to my coach. And I'm like, I don't know what we can do differently, right? Like I think I can just race heads up, try to kill the ghetto runner, which is like the baby Dorito. You guys were kind of feeling that. So I tried to just race and put a lane on him and try to kill him. And then I would just maybe try to float up and just get explosive on that side. Couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Missed that kill. He comes out, wraps, punishes me. I'm just like, it just keeps collapsing on itself. And I tried to do different things, and really I personally should have just stayed on the snake because I was doing such a good job at that. I should have just stayed on that job, and I should have allowed my teammates to kind of change their plays a little bit and try to figure out on how to take the ball, because Clay was playing the one in front of me on the Dorito side, and he's absolutely capable of doing anything at any given moment. The kid's a stud. I should have just let him do his thing, and I should have stayed disciplined and just did my job, not let you guys in the snake. Ben, like the one point you probably spied that we weren't going to, shoot the snake. Ben went in the snake. As soon as he crawled, I was killing people by just swapping my gun, shooting right over the beam, and they would crawl into it. Right. Well, he was already gone. He was already past it. Like it was insane. The speed was insane of this kid. He just gets into the snake 3, pulls up, and I think gets like a 3 or 4 pack. Like, it was, and he knew exactly who to shoot. That's the thing. Like that's the thing that is kind of people don't know. Like you guys talk about all the time. There's levels to it, right? It's like Tyler, you get in the snake, you get in the snake 3. You're gonna know who's zoning that. So you're gonna know like, hey, like I can pull up and I can just shoot right at this wedge. It's gonna be right here. Or I can, that he's going to be looking Dorito way, or I can shoot the guy that's shooting at me real quick, right? You're going to take the free ones, obviously, first, then take the engagement. Like, I'm just seeing bodies drop, and then he just pelts me, like kills 3 bodies in like 2 or 3 seconds, right?
That kid won a 1-on-3 from that spot.
I heard you talking about it, man. Like, he's a stud, man. Ben's a stud. So,
yeah, totally.
All I can do is kind of just, I don't know too much I've watched the footage and I've ran it back. I know what I should have done differently, and that's kind of like what I'm honed in on, is I should have just been a little bit more disciplined and kept you guys out of the snake. I think it would have helped our game a little bit more.
Want some free advice?
Yeah, absolutely, man.
I feel like you guys were so solid and so tough to beat from the pocket. You did 2 things. You, one, thought that you couldn't play that against us because we'd be too disciplined, right? So you changed your game plan because of us. That shouldn't happen, right? You guys were executing your game plan so well. You did win the first point. You guys ran wide. But then after that, when you guys got behind a couple points, you kept trying to run. And it played right into our hand. It's like, okay, now we have this lead. How do they get back into it? They got to try to take a bite. And it was predictable where you would try to take a bite because there weren't a ton of options on that field, right? So it allowed us to then get a body advantage when there's plenty of time. There's still like 9 minutes left in the match. Plenty of time, right? Yeah. Plenty of time. So you guys should have, in my opinion, said, you know what? Let's get 5 alive and do what we do best. We've been succeeding all event like that. Let's be 5 alive. We have plenty of time. We're down 2 points, down 3 points even, plenty of time. But you guys kept kind of running into our guns, which played into our hand. And then there was actually a big moment. And I want to ask why. I don't know why you guys didn't blow the buzzer in that one where we got a penalty for shooting, which was a really bad penalty.
That was so trash, man. Like, I sat there and I asked the ref. I walked over to the head ref. I'm the only one that noticed the clock was ticking. Yeah. I'm like, hey, man, like, why is the clock going when you guys are discussing it on the field? Like, you guys have burned a minute and a half.
The clock should have stopped.
It was like 3 minutes and like 45 seconds.
Yes.
And it burned down to 2 minutes and 29 seconds.
Yes. Yes.
Absolute bullshit. I told the ref, I'm like, hey, man, like, are you guys going to fix this clock? And he's like, yeah, I'll handle it. I walk away, 2 minutes and 29 seconds.
Yeah, what I'll say, though, is, but they would have changed it. I was waiting there, and you guys never pushed the issue. You guys just came back out to play the next point, which good on you guys for not, like, being confrontational, I guess. But that was a situation where you guys definitely deserved to have time put back on the clock.
I was bitching. Just let it be. I was bitching, and I was bitching internally, and it was like I was getting to a toxic point on it. And so I think, like, Lee, my coach, was just like, dude, just drop it. Move on.
But here's why it was a gray area. Like, they were talking about it, but we still had players alive. So that's why it was a weird thing, because, like, I don't think they stop it if we don't have players alive. Ben was still alive after they assessed the penalty. Yeah. So that's why the clock keeps running. Like, that was the weird thing with it, right? And I was like, are they going to blow the buzzer? Like, fucking just hit the buzzer. But it's also weird because you don't know if the penalty was going to pull all of our guys or not. It was a weird
I know,
situation.
Dude.
Yeah, it was a weird situation.
I was so frustrated about it, and I was like, can we please? Like, and Bobby's the man. Like, Bobby does a great job reffing. Yeah. And so, like, I can't. I hate to. The one thing I try to do as a paintball player is I try not to give a hard time to the refs. We suck at being paintball players. We treat refs so bad. Totally. It's unreal. You know what I mean? So, like, the refs can stand up for me and talk about it. I'm like one of the only divisional players after our match that ran out there in their little ref huddle while they were all talking and was like, yo, thank you guys for reffing, man. I really, really appreciate it. Sucks we lost. You guys did a stellar job, and I bounced, right? Like, I got a ton of respect for those guys. The last thing I want to do is make their job 10 times harder, even if it was a bad call.
It happens, man. Yeah,
it does happen.
Yeah, exactly.
It does happen. And
I've reffed. I've made mistakes reffing, and I'm like, it's the first thing I do in clinics when people are like, they're like, oh no, I shot him first. I'm like, look, bro, I don't know who shot who first. Just both of you get off the field, because I'm not a professional ref. Yeah, and that was a hard thing for me to see who actually. So I don't. Yeah, that job is tough, man. Yeah, it's tough.
The time I think that you're right. I probably could have pressed the issue. I probably could have pressed Bobby. Let's be honest, it probably wouldn't have changed the outcome.
The match was kind of out of hands there, but still, it was still like, 3.5 minutes down 4 is a whole lot better than 2.5 minutes. That's absolutely for damn sure.
Absolutely, man. I know. And I was there. Yeah. I was on that, and I was like, dude, I knew the time and everything. Yeah, like exactly like we brought it up. Yeah. Like, I know exactly what the fuck was going on, and so, yeah, it sucked, but
I wouldn't hang it on that, though. Honestly, the biggest thing is you guys got away from what was working for you because you were worried about what we were doing.
Yeah. And you're right. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we talked about it, and
then Ryan talked shit.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. I wish I would have known. I wouldn't like Ryan's so funny for that.
I respect him, though, because afterwards he was super cool. And during the game, I was like, I don't know you. I've like, the name sounds familiar, right? So I've heard of you. Don't know you. You're talking shit to me. Okay. And then after the game, he was super cool. And I was like, okay, I get it. He's competitive. I'm super down with that. I'm down with that. And he's a good player too. He was a good player. Man. So I was like, okay, we got to key up on him. He's fiery. He's a good player. He's, been having a hell of a tournament.
Yeah. Ryan balled out for us, man. It was a really good pickup, dude. I hit him up Wednesday to come and play. So hit him up Wednesday, flew out Thursday. So very last minute pickup, but it was awesome having him. He ruined our finals, poked the bear, shouldn't have done that. But other than that, shout out to Ryan.
Ruined our finals. I don't know about all that.
Poked the bear, So well, but yeah, man, it was a ton of fun.
You guys did amazing, man. And I know we can't wait to continue watching the journey with you and the squad. Brother. And like I said, everybody be sure to go follow at KC Sports Complex, at the Missouri All-Stars. And Todd, drop your Instagram handle as well.
Todd Boyer, at Todd Boyer 24.
Perfect.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
Awesome.
And be on the lookout for them making big moves into the end of the 2023 season and beyond.
Eventually we're gonna make it into Sunday. You know what I mean? Couple years, maybe this end of this year. I don't know. We'll do it. You know what I mean? We're doing the work. So
that's it.
I love it, bro.
If I could tell anybody anything divisional wise, the one thing I would like to say is, think about it. 5 years ago, I was 25. I was a bum player with the worst style. And I'm here now, right? And all I had to do, it was very simple. I had to just work. It's really simple. I just had to show up to the field and I had to put in the work. If you're trying to be here and you want to be here, just put in the work.
Yeah.
And I tell my complex guys all the time, study footage. Study footage. I've watched like so much footage. Like not a lot of people can do this, but like my first PTG podcast I ever watched was number 16. I think it was number 16 with Ronnie. It was you guys probably don't even know.
Yeah,
I think it was number 16 and it was like right around COVID. It was like it was so sick, divisional player. Like I'm just like, man, like nothing's going on in paintball. I'm still traveling to practice, and PTG, I find out about it from one of my buddies, Max, and I'm 90% sure it was the Ronnie Dizon episode, and I'm like, dude, this is awesome. You know what I mean? So just content, man. Content has really changed my game. It's helped my IQ. Like, you learn stuff. So you're actually watch.
You're PTG alumni. You've been rocking with us for a long time, and you're always showing out and reposting like that. You're clocked in. Getting the data, getting, like you said, the intel, figuring out more details about the game. So from behalf of us here at PTG and the whole PTG community, thank you for rocking with us so tough on the journey.
Absolutely, man.
Appreciate
Thank you guys.
So
Thank you guys for making this happen.
We need to do a PTG pro school out there.
I would love it, dude.
Let's do it.
I would
Next
absolutely
season.
love it,
Let's
bro.
get it set up. Hell yeah,
absolutely. I would love to have you guys out, man. Like the coolest, I think the coolest thing I've ever done in my life, and I honestly was like getting emotional about it when I was out there, was this pro clinic with Ronnie, Blake, and Nick.
Yeah.
That was insane, man. It was like out of my dreams, you know what I mean? Like I'm just dreaming of stuff like that when I'm coming up, and to just have those 3 top level players out there. I get to put on a fireworks show for everybody. Like there was like 200 people out there, not players, but just like, in general, like 200 people. And it was one of the coolest things. And just to see all of the local players just get to be around these pro players, because no one travels. Like Kansas City is not competitive. We're the only team out here that's really like competing in NXL. Like these guys don't get the exposure. Seeing their faces and just watching some of these players, like their eyes light up, and just you could tell like it was connecting. They're like, I want to do this. It was by far the coolest experience I've ever had, man. So I absolutely just want to keep doing stuff like this, like clinics. And I messaged, I had no idea what goes on with BKI. I'm not a kid. I can't go do that stuff. Like I would.
Yeah, you can. It's not for kids, bro. You need to come. We have people of all ages. You need to come to summer camp next year.
I do want to come.
Swear to G.
It'd be so fun. It'd be
Swear
so
to
fun.
G.
I messaged Nick and I'm like, dude,
some of these kids will toast your ass, dude.
I know they would, dude. That's what I'm saying. I need to go learn, bro. I'm just trying to be a sponge out here and just learn from anything I can, So I'm about it, dude. Like in changing the youth, like I said to Marcelo earlier, like what he's doing for Ben and Cameron and all these guys is kind of like what I was talking about on Paintball Nerd. Like pros like help. If you're a pro player, even if you're bottom tier, it doesn't matter. Like you're going to impact these players. You might not think so, but you will. Like I have to mention this. I have to. I'm sorry. I'm rambling.
No, you're
but
good.
At WCPPL, we're all leaving the event and we're trying to like flip our cases. You guys don't know the hustle. It's been admitted for you boys. You know what I mean? So we're trying to sell our cases and just get like $10 out of them. I'm going like to team, like showing up. Hey, what's up? During their playing and stuff. And this guy just turns around. He's just like, Todd Boyer. And he's like, I'm like, what's up, man? Like he's like, dude, I've got your jersey. He just whips it out. He's got my Missouri All-Star jersey in Cali. He's like, will you sign this? And dude, it was like one of the coolest things I've ever experienced in my life. And it, it just was a simple signature and a couple pictures with those guys. Like, it was awesome, man. And I feel bad for anyone that's a pro player or semi-pro, or I mean even D2. It doesn't really matter your division. If you're a higher level and you can help these kids learn paintball, do it, man. You're helping the growth of paintball. Do what you can to help grow, man. And you guys are doing a phenomenal job. And I just look up to all you pros that are out here hustling and working hard. Patty, Alex, you guys, Ronnie, Keith, like anyone that's just out here putting in the work. Like, I'm over here, like, I'm mirrored up with you guys. I'm trying to grind as much as you guys. I'm trying to grind more because I'm trying to shit on you guys when I get up there. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to come in sloppy. So I'm trying to put in the work, and I want everybody else to follow suit. So my divisional players and stuff, they see what I'm doing and they'll follow, and we'll all just keep growing together. We just gotta help out.
We got to keep pulling each other up.
I appreciate you guys, man, big time. Thank you guys so much for having me on.
Dude, nothing but respect. And everybody be sure to follow him on the journey.
Yes.
And we will see you all at a paintball field soon.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Go.
Thanks, brother. Peace.
Thanks, boys.
All right.
Peace.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and rocking with us. If you enjoyed the show, please head over to ptgpaintball.com. Click the Patreon link and subscribe. If you guys would like to support the show, this is a great way to do so. You get amazing access to the Discord. It is a huge benefit to you. I promise you guys, you will become better paintball players and live a more fulfilled, amazing life if you're part of the PTG Discord. Discord's amazing. Some other great ways you can support the show is any of our sponsors. Use code PLAYTHEGAME at checkout if you want to enjoy the product. It also shows our sponsors that we do bring some value and our listeners actually care about the stuff that we personally are using on a daily basis. And always, as usual, the best way to support the show, the number one way, is just by listening. So thank you guys if you've been doing that. We love you. We appreciate you. We thank you so much. And as always, we will see you very soon.